Islam?
Islam, can you hear me?
I hear you, but his mic is off.
Oh, muted. Yeah, okay. I know I didn't hear anything, so okay. All right.
That's a pretty long pause.
Ali, Ali. Ali, Ali. Yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message. And I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
All right, Islam. Could y'all hear that, family? Because I know at first the audio wasn't on there.
Islam.
Islam.
Okay, gratitude. Pardon yourself for the technical difficulties. Got a few glitches here there. But
I figured something was going on.
Yes, sir. Islam without the schism. But let us rise upon the 7 and give all praises to the great God, Allah, Father God, Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore, honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Want to open up our particular Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate, this morning. And we will call forth our beloved brother Scribe, Egyptian Adept Scribe, Dr. Marvin Nathaniel Edwards Bey, Islam, that he may open up the way.
Islam, gratitude. Rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give high honor to our Act 1. I give high honor to all of our officials. Give high honor to this class, our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class, our E.A.R.S class. I give honors to you, Dr. Shahid Amani Mohedjid Sepsuel, for hosting and instructing this most powerful class, as well as I give honor to the scribes here on the panel, and I give honor to everything that is Moorish. And I'll be opening our meeting according to law. Yatla ebnu heru meku neteru. Yatla eb heteru. Yatla ma'at heru. Yatla hoteperu. Yatla heru. Yatla ma'at hekuti. Yatla awahjet dejuti. Yatla patem sutek patem heru. Yatla bamatuti. El hetis way up to Ali. Amen. Hallelujah. 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 In transliteration, O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet. O Allah, through Ali. Amen. Holy Issa. Holy Issa. Holy Issa. And I'll begin with our divine constitution of Morris America. Salvation, our God, unity. The divine constitution of Morris America, Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Morris America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of Morris America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Morris America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings must be opened and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is our holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Morris America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Morris American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Morris America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is the new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Medu Re En Kmt, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and impartial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, noble Medu Re En Kmt, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet noble Medu Re En Kmt Peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of North America. And and this and the meeting is now open according to Act 2 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now turn the meeting over to our goddess and queen, Dr. Dendra Anita Curtis Bay, National Grand Secretary of the State of South Carolina. Islam goddess.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Gratitude, God, man. Islam, 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 family. I am Dr. Dendra Ani Bay. But first, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheik for this class this morning. And I give honors to our Council General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for opening us up according to law, reading our Constitution and our bylaws. And at this time, I will be reading our chapter of the week, chapter 44, coming from our Holy Quran. And it reads, Duty of a Husband. This chapter is to be read first to the husband by an ordained divine minister of the Moorish American government during all marriage obligation ceremonies. The supreme laws of the prophet are now being enforced throughout our land. Take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinances of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. But examine with care and fix not suddenly. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth much and talketh loud, if her foot abide not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven. Turn thy face from her charm, turn thy feet from her path, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, join with softness of manners, an accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy. Take her home to thy house. She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. O cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. She is the mistress of thy house. Treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. Oppose not her inclinations without cause. She is the partner of thy care. Make her also the companion of thy pleasure. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Exact not her obedience with rigor. Trust thy secret in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief, instigate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfection. Islam, Islam, Islam. We will now turn our class back over to our National Sister Grand Sheik, Dr. Sadu Amiti El Muhammad Sepsu El. Are you there, National Sister Grand Sheik?
Oh yeah, Islamism. Can you hear me, goddess and queen?
Islam, I can hear you well.
Gratitude, Islamism without the schism. Want to rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome our Moorish kin to another Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate session. I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazz El. My ancient Kemetic and high name being the same as Dr. Shedawa Mintiel Muhajjid Shepsuel. And indeed, as always, Moorish kin, we have a grand drawing to bring on the manifest. And, it's been very, very grand, for us to come here and begin to gather, as we normally do. And we always want to open up the way and bring our people into this measure as they are meant to come forth, and so we can't do that without going into the actual book of fire. This is one of the most powerful portions of, our gathering and coming into this special platform before our people. And so we actually have some drawings to come forth with from the book of fire, which are going to be very powerful. And I just want to pull I got my pages right here. I would like to actually start by calling forth our family in a volunteer reading, as we always do. And
Islam.
Islam. That's what I'm talking about. The
Moors.
Islam.
Okay. In that order.
Go ahead, brother.
In that order. So, Brother Bati Bey, we're going to start on page 205, 205. What are the Moors and who are the Americans, right? And who are the Moorish Americans? How did the Moorish derive? Since this is one of the most controversial questions that is among us today. And you can go there from that particular area up into actually, you can stop at Act 6, above who are the Moorish Americans on page 206. And then our brother Marvin Edwards Bey can pick up from there. Islam, and you can pick up, brother, on 206 to who are the Moorish Americans. And then you can go all the way over to, Brother Bati Bey? Actually, you can go to 207 and stop above right there when you get done with all the names in relation to the Moorish. And that's above the genealogy of the Moorish Americans. And then brother Marvin Edwards Bey can pick up at 207, and he can take us over into 210, right above 210, where it states the Moorish nation are not Ethiopians. And then we will have our Grand National Secretary of State pick up from here, and she can take us actually to the end of 211 from that particular point. Islam? Islamism without the schism. My Badu. You may proceed, family.
Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give all man praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, Mufti, citizens alike, honors to all the Moors that are here in attendance, all the ones on the panel, and honors to our the committee and the Dev Hierophant is now for this class, Islam, and I will begin. Who are the Moorish Americans? Who are the Americans? Who are the Moorish Americans? How did Moorish derive? The name Moorish derives from the root name Mor or Mur, which originated from the ancient Moabites of Lemuria, Mu, prior to Gondwana land of the Great Pangea. This is why the Moorish flag is over 100,000 years old, representing the Moorish gods of the first creation. Later, they formed a modern kingdom in the East African land of Moab. Moab was one of the first civilizations in the Holy Land of Canaan. Moorish is the modern name for the descendants of those ancient Moabites and includes their descendant brethren, Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites. Together and collectively, they formed themselves kingdoms and inhabited the northwest and southwest of the continent of Africa, and were known as Hamitites for a long, long time. The Honorable Medu Re Ali defines the Moorish best in the last sentence of Act 6 of his Divine Constitution and Bylaws. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Author's notes: if your recent 500-year ancestral lineage reflects your forefathers originated through this grand history, there is a very good possibility you were born into the free national name of Moorish American. Moorish American, excuse me. Plurality. The suffix ish to the noun Moor, forming the name Moorish, legally broadens the indigenous native base to an all-encompassing state. Ish extends the life of a person, place, or thing beyond its center of origin. This suffix envelops all things and peoples which pertains to its root noun. Ish means having the characteristics of, pertaining to, after the manner of, or a relative state of. Worldwide, the international community of nations, especially when referring to their citizens of national gifts, uses this powerful suffix. People are familiar with Polish, Irish, Swedish, British, Ish, etc. Ish basically legitimizes or confirms the authentic and being a part and parcel of the root. The suffix family is also used by nations, including the Ans, as in American, Jamaican, German, or Moroccan, etc. Also, the suffix "ian" or "ian" or Iranian or "ites," like Moabites, Hamitites, etc., are used to serve the same national origin purpose as Ish, or e.g. Moorish. No suffix is used for the nationless Negroes, colored, or Black people. Today, a Moroccan is classified as an African born in Morocco and is an existing citizen of Morocco, the country in extreme northwest Africa. It should be pointed out, with no prejudice intended, but a European born of European parents on any continent in the world is still a European, whereas the Moorish born anywhere on the planet becomes a part of that land. There are Europeans being born in African countries for centuries, but they are not true Africans. Those who accidentally amalgamate with Africans automatically lose the autonomy of their pale skin lineage to the melanin of the sun-kissed African gods forever. The nations of Europe would permanently lose their existence from the planet Earth within 2 generations of amalgamation with the pure blood of Africans. Needful to say, it did not take long for the European explorers to find it would be self-genocidal to mix with people of color. This is the true foundation for today's skin game and racism. It was developed out of European fear of extinction. So who are the Moorish Americans? The Moorish are descendants of Moroccans through the inheritance of their ancient forefathers that sojourned westward across the continent of Africa from the Holy Land of Canaan. The Moorish are a multinational conglomerate of African people of the inherent state and character of West African Moors. The Moorish are the nations of people who are descended from the tribes and nations of Northwest and Southwest Africa, whose foreparents were brought into the Americas as slaves or were already natives here. For those who need an historical verification, Moorish is the true and lawful national descendant name of the African peoples freed from slavery in 1865 by the 13th Amendment of the United States, but did not proclaim their nationality. From 1779 to 1865, during the U.S. constitutional time of slavery, the Moorish were denationalized and given the slave names of Negroes, colored folks, Black people, and Ethiopians. Act 6. During the 400-year of chattel slavery, the Moorish were either enslaved or escaped into the interiors of the Americas and adjoining islands northward to as far as present-day Canada, the Yukon, and Alaska. Southward into Mexico, all of the Atlantic islands, and into the countries of South America. All of these and their parents and children born in these soils are Moorish. Why are the Moorish also Americans? Yes, the Americans are the inherent indigenous peoples whose forefathers are the founders and true possessors of the continents with the modern name America. There is no such place as ancient America. A maxim is its ancient name. America is the name given to it by those who thought and taught it was a new world. Nevertheless, conquered it as they may, the lawful and modern name of a maxim is America. And those whose bodies came and sustained from her breast are in fact Americans. There are some Moorish with so much foolish hatred for former European slave masters until they also have blind hate for their name, America. To the few, I remind them of the peacock who struts with pride of its flared, beautiful feathers until it sees its ugly feet. In parallel, their bodies and souls are made from their land, fertilized with unnumbered seasons of genocidal suffrages of their great grandparents, just so you can hate to be free in the very America they built and died in as slaves. Look at your feet. Surprise, you are American by birth. The priceless shoes of love you wear were inherited with justice laced with prayers. North America is the entire continent, which is the home of three countries, e.g., the United States of America. Moorish is the descendant name of the ancient forefathers, and America is your birth name. Because America is the land in which you were born, hence the Moorish Americans are a lawful inherited, new, pure, and clean nation, descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwest and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 6. Who are the Moorish Americans? Moorish Americans are, again, descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Question 14. There is nothing wrong with America. The United States, which currently owns blacks under colorable authority, is not America, but of America. The U.S. can rise and fall, but the continent will still be here. There are also Moorish throughout the northern western hemisphere, most brought forth upon the American continents by way of the African slave trade that lawfully extended the old Moorish empire with many newly developed Moorish kingdoms, new nations of Moors indigenous from the interiors of Northwest and Southwest Africa were rapidly giving birth to new nations in the Western Hemisphere. Harsh as it was and is, these nations actually evolved from the genocidal pains of slavery on the soils of the Americas and adjoining islands. All who had a hand in the business of African slave, all who had a hand in the business of African slaves, from the Pope to Freemasonry, were so blinded with financial greed and lust for power, they could not see the consequences of African slavery is the divine resurrection of many African nations to this day. A few of the new Moorish nations are Moorish Americans, Moorish Canadians, Moorish Ecuadorians, Moorish Virgin Islanders, Moorish Mexicans, Moorish Trinidadians, Moorish Cubans, Moorish Arubians, Moorish Bahamians, Moorish Puerto Ricans, Moorish Jamaicans, Moorish Hondurans, Moorish Haitians, Moorish Panamanians, Moorish Nicaraguans, Moorish Brazilians. All these are Moorish from the Northwest and Southwestern shores. Islam, Islam, Islam. And with that, I will turn this meeting over to Dr. Marvin Edwards Bey, Counsel General for the state of Texas. Islam.
In gratitude, Counsel General of Iowa, Dr. Tara Ani Bati Bey. And I'll begin. And I am Dr. Marvin Edwards Bey out of the Texas Consulate. Praise and honors have been given. The genealogy of the Moorish Americans. Before the great historians, for example, J.A. Rogers, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, John Hendrick Clark, Lauren Bennett, Dr. Yosef, A. Ben Yakanan, etc. First, there was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. While it is true, history is not an exact science. The ex-slaves should be consciously selective in their search of the self. By design, American slaves are the only rejected cornerstone to the pyramid of families. The solidarity of these brilliant authors used love and history to warn the Moors of today to stop accepting the European maps, charts, and literature depicting Africa and the human family as the ultimate gospel. Common sense dictates it is not in the best interest of a slave master to provide his slave with those things necessary that would make the latter greater than the former. And rarely will the conqueror accurately recall the greatness of the conquered. The divine names and ancient tribal boundaries to the geographics of Africa and her nations of children, having been touched by the pale-skinned nations of Europe, are barely recognizable and should not be accepted as gospel. Okay. What qualifies an invader as an expert historian or the subjugated land? Why accept the criminal's description of the crime? The greatest failures are assured to a people who do not believe in the capacity of themselves. Worse yet, to believe the words of a known oppressor while boldly repudiating the guidance of their own blood has become socially acceptable. This is like watching a predator fish displaying the characteristic of a bottom feeder. Drew Ali calls the programming of the Negro mind, which makes them be opposed to Drew Ali calls the programming of the Negro mind, which makes them be opposed to blacks who detest their colored brother for looking down on the African Americans of today is mental slavery. Through the criminal process of denationalization, supported with the worldwide distortion and eradication of their history, the peoples of West Africa were completely detached from the human family of nations. They were earmarked by the letter of the law to perpetual slavery, and the reject labels of Negro, Black, and colored were legally applied to bury the true status of a once noble people. The modern Moorish families, tribes, and nations of the Americas and the adjoining islands were and are all members of the same human family. The African slave trade was entirely supplied with indigenous nationals from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Since the Moorish in the Western Hemisphere are the only people detached as descendants of the mothers and fathers of the human family, Adam and Eve, it is befitting they track their genealogy through the family national migration of their forefathers. As the only nationless people on earth, the NBC must trace themselves through the succession of regimes leading up to the present Moroccan Empire. Following this order, they will be able to see they are today what their forefathers were yesterday and are not NBC. So the Moorish American must trace their genealogy through human family expansion of nations. According to Noble Drew Ali, the origin of the human family began in ancient East Maxim. The prophet reminds the Moors that Egypt was the capital empire of the dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are descendants of the ancient Canaanite from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The following map illustrates the origin and migration of the human family. It must be remembered that Africans were populating the earth long before the grossly misdated so-called flood, which Drew Ali describes as the Pangea era, when the earthland known as Asia was one landmass, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Drew Ali also reminds us the Moorish, who are the ancient Moabites and founders of the holy city of Mecca. Appendix, Moorish Holy Quran 45, Ayat 2. In fact, it was the Moorish who first named the eastern part of Eden's garden Havilah. This is why the Arabian descendants of Hagar, who came later, have spent the past 1,300 years to pogrom Africans, enslaving the Hamitites from the Sudan to the Atlantic. The Arabian, having nationalized the African creed of Islam, have been busy destroying the Moorish historical accomplishments throughout the upper and lower Nile, especially the Kmetian mystery system. This was a feverish attempt to cover up the 23 years it took an Egyptian adept named Gabriel to teach Muhammad to read. The Hamitic migration during the population of Northwest, Central, and Southwest Africa provided the sons and daughters of the modern-day Moorish Empire. The Africans used to make up the brutal slave system. The Africans used to make up the brutal slave systems of Americas were all from the Moorish Empire, which was comity of Hamitic kingdoms, nations, countries, and tribes. See 1371 to 1908 list of African sovereignties and their capitals. Most of these nations were in civilized effect and unseen by European presence until the 18th and 19th centuries. Most Moorish Americans can easily trace themselves through the spread of the human family, knowing they are their mothers and fathers of the greatest family on earth. In his lessons and instructions, Noble Drew Ali does not support the pale-skinned nations Europe as being a part of the human family, but then claiming to be descendants of primates, neither do they. The one thing the self-proclaimed white man and his clone, the black man, has in common is neither one has a mother or father in which to honor their father and thy mother. This is why a proper status is of paramount interest, because it is your nationality branch to the tree of the human family. Note the following map, and of course, you have we all do. And it's on the screen, of course. Okay, beginning with the second civilization, this illustration supports Drew Ali's 7 million-year-old Moorish migration. Later, as the let me repeat that. This illustration supports Drew Ali's 7 million-year-old Moorish migration. Later, as the industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hammatites, and Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. And Northwest and Southwest was his Cush, father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab are the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47, ayat 4 through 6. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands. Moorish Holy Quran. The kingdoms, countries, and tribes of the Moorish Empire. Hamitic reigned from 1371 to 1908, before and during the Atlantic slave trade. North Central Africa, Libya, Tripoli, Tunis, Algiers, Northwest Africa, Morocco, Rabat, West Egypt, Western Sahara, Mauritania, Muscat, Senegal, Dakar, Cape Verde Islands, Praia, Gambia, Banjul, Guinea-Bissau, Gaines, Conakry, Mali, Timbuktu, Niger, Niamey, Nigeria, Kano, Burkina, Sierra Leone, Freetown, Liberia, Abidjan, Ivory Coast, Abidjan, Togo, Ghana, Benin, Porto Novo, Southwest Africa, Cameroon, Yaoundé, Chad, N'Djamena, Central Africa Republic, Bangui, Gabon, Liberia, Sao Tome and Principe, Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville, Zaire, Kinshasa, Rwanda, Angola, Luanda, Libido, Zambia, Lusaka, Namibia, Windhoek, Botswana, Cameroon, Swaziland, Maseru, South Africa, Cape Town. Today, the descendants of these African nations, today, the descendants of these African nationals from her northwestern and southwestern shores constitute a new nation bearing one free national name, Moorish Americans. Speaking of these Moorish nations, if all of them kept their mouths shut, when you meet them, the blanket physical resemblance, cultural traits, and love of father and mother is inherited and undeniably the same among these descendants from West Africa. Do not be deceived by the different tongues, dress, and selected hairstyles. These are the children of one father. Take Jamaica, for example. Islam, I think I'm supposed to stop there, right?
Islam, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Dr. Hatshepsut Tutankhamun Bey, rising, giving praises to Allah, honor to our Prophet, honor to our E.A.R.S class, and to everyone online. The Moorish nations are not Ethiopians. A need to know history of Jamaica. People familiar with the Holy Prophet often ask the question, why does Noble Durali teach the Moorish they are not Ethiopian, in addition to their not being Negroes, colored folks, or Black people? After all, Ethiopia is an African country. The Holy Prophet answers this question by giving the origin, definition, and historical uses of the word Ethiopia. He said, question number 89, what does Ethiopia mean? Ethiopia means something divided. The present-day land called Ethiopia is not under its original, true, and divine name. That landmass was first known as ancient Sheba through Cush's Rama. There were many other names for its people depending on eras and dynasties. Example given, Aksumites, Meroites, Maluha, Sumerian, Napatans, Habashi, Arabic, Cushite, etc., often referred to as the Mother Race. Its region covered what is known as the Upper Blue Nile, the beginning of ancient Kemet, Egypt's original name, across to Yemen, southern tip of Havilah, later named Arabia. The seven-shaped continent was known as a Mexium, parentheses, Oxume or Akubalon, which modern misnomer is Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexium, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. This is the origin and intended definition of the word Ethiopia. See Appendix, Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47. A demarcation of the earthland is the ancient science, which sets invisible boundaries that are aligned with its solar and divine orbital life. Some of these transparent lines used to this day are the equator, longitudes, latitudes, Ethiopia, or your basic north, east, south, and west, etc. These lines are drawn to keep man in harmony with the clock of destiny, which he uses as ages, eras, seasons, and governments. None of these measurements and directions is tangible, yet they constitute growth to the manifest life that man must come to know. Such is the true meaning of the word Ethiopia. Ancient Shah Abijah produced the infamous Asiatic queen Bilqis, Queen of Sheba, whom united kingdoms with King Solomon. In fact, the line of Judah and the house of David can be traced from here. The reader is asked to please do not be deceived by the Europeans' modern geographic quote-unquote makeover of the continent of Amexium or his misnaming of its people. Investigate and research what the Honorable Durali has brought you of these histories. The word Ethiopia derived from the great founding fathers of East Africa's Holy Lands and originally means something divided. Those on the Cush side of Ethiopian line begot the Cushites and their descendant tribes, example given, Seba, Havilah, Sabra, Sheba, Dedan, Nimrod, etc. Later, on the other side of the Ethiopian, his father Ham and the rest of the tribes and nations inhabited the northwestern and southwestern of the dominion of Africa. The Hamitic tribes and their brethren from the Holy Land of Canaan included the Hittites, Amorites, Sidon, Hittites, Jebusites, Archites, Kamathites, and Moabites from the land of Moab. The latter are the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan kingdom. Others established kingdoms known as Tunis, Tripoli, Algiers, Mali, and Mauritania. All of these tribes and kingdoms later compiled the quote-unquote Moorish Empire, which gave birth to a clean and pure nation known as the Moorish Americans. They were from the Hamitic nations of Northwest and Southwest Africa, including the Moors defeated in Spain, Italy, and Greece, which peopled the African slave trade. The European slavers throughout North, Central, and South Americas and the Atlantic islands distributed these enslaved African nationals by the millions over a period of 400 years. Here in the West, students have been miseducated to the word Ethiopian. They were taught the word was coined by the Greeks to mean burnt faces, burnt lands with burnt people, or some other form of blackened by whitey excrement. The truth lies in this simple answer. Where was any pale-skinned person when the gods of the Nile first charted the stars, navigated the seas, traversed the deserts, and paved the continents for civilizations to prosper? Moreover, had they ever seen a sun-kissed man or woman when the continent of Africa was being circumnavigated? These Moorish millions were never stolen from the Cushite dominion of Northeast and Southeast Africa. In fact, like Cush, they too are descendant sons of Ham. It must be remembered the Ham lineage of sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, founded many of the great civilizations and ancient governments. Example given, Babylon, Philistine, Sheba, Phoenicia, and Kemet, parentheses, Egypt. Like so, there were many nations, tribes, and kingdoms existing to this day, from the Rock of Gibraltar to the South African Cape on the west coastline of Africa, too numerous to mention. This part of Africa became the womb from which her children were aborted into U.S. slavery. True history and maps of this entire area of Northwest and Southwest will reveal this parcel of Africa was under the Moorish Empire from 649 AD to 1890 AD. For this reason, to this day, the comity of those tribes, nations, and kingdoms are known as Moorish. It is very important to note the land called Ethiopia was among the very first to become civilized in the form of a permanent government known as cities. 20,000 years before this, the African governments were mobilized in their civilizing of the earthlands. Here in the modern Americas, most people, especially the so-called NBC people, are inclined to accept the modern European name of people, places, and things as authentic, original, and true. Rarely do they investigate and research these nouns to their divine and national titles. Worse yet, if they do learn the truth, more than likely the custom of Western falsehood will still be more appealing. Yehoshua, who was of Moabite and Canaanite descent, is a prime example of this. And the African slaves did not name themselves Negro, blacks, colored, or Ethiopian. Guess who did and why? The question and answer is key to understanding Moorish. Who are the Jamaicans, etc.? The origin of a word, a people, or any manifest is its beginning in the ideals of man. The divine origin is what the great God created the subject to be. The 2,000-year Piscean age has included the Europeans' plight to conquer the nations of hue by separations of them from their divine and earthly origins. Basically, this means all of Africa, its people and works, became the victims of pale-skinned interpretations of what their limited languages could describe. The origin of the modern-day nation of Jamaica is rooted in the West African slave trade. Nearly 90% of these island populations today are descendants of these inhabitants. However, these Jamaicans are not the first Africans to be indigenous there or the other Caribbean islands. A native history is the sacred legacy of a people. It encompasses all their accomplishments and failures. A history is always poised to project them into their creative destiny, minus errors of the past. The ancient Moors were a seafaring people for over 10,000 years and were accustomed to traveling the Atlantic from West Africa to what is now called the Americas, Mexico, and the Atlantis Islands. Often, they would use the ocean highway known as the North Atlantic Drift or the Gulf Stream. This waterway of blue, warm waters would naturally carry anything floating from the Gulf of Mexico to the West African coast. They had peopled the islands and used it for trade and produce after their separation from the one earthland. Siboneyes, Arawaks, and Caribs were the names of the original natives of Umaka, the true name of the island. The name Jamaica is actually a Spaniard's mispronunciation of Umaka. It was the Arawaks who discovered, quote unquote, a Portuguese slave trader who later became an explorer for Queen Isabella named Christopher Columbus. What the Arawaks discovered was old Chris was rather lost at sea. The inherent trait to be hospitable had blinded the Arawaks to saving the Spaniard's life in 1494. By 1655, this Arawak nation of Moors had been completely exterminated by the Spaniards. The cross-bearing Europeans who had been christened by Spanish rulers rejoiced at this pogrom and blessed it as a conquest of the heathens, as they did with many other annihilated nations, which they labeled as Indians. Conquest of the heathens later became known by the word genocide, the final solution, Nazi Germany, or today's ethnic cleansing. Most people assume all the enslaved Africans were captured and brought straight to North America. Actually, the majority never left the slave-breaking islands of the South Atlantic and the coastline countries of Mexico, Central, and South America. Most of those brought to the United States were of marketable, quote-unquote, broken wills, dehumanized, and filled with the fear of God. See Masonry. Millions came through the door of no return from Senegal, West Africa, on to the Caribbean islands. To this day, it is these descendants of West Africa whom inhabit the country of Jamaica. In 1655, a British admiral named Penn, the father of William Penn, who discovered quote-unquote Indians already using the land he named Pennsylvania after himself, beat up the Spaniard and took Jamaica. The slaves people, although children of African descent, became British subjects in the British Commonwealth. It remains that way until 1962, when Jamaica gained its conditional independence, conditional due to a 40-year purging clause. Those Jamaicans born before the 1962 independence are classed as British subjects, and those born after the 1962 declaration would be true Jamaican citizens. By the year 2002, Jamaica will legally come into her own. Ironically, there is a separate tribe of the Moorish in the highlands of Jamaica, noted for fighting the British and anyone else. They too are Moors, but by them being so isolated, they are called Maroons. All Jamaicans know of them. Islam. So at this time, we want to turn the meeting back into the hands of our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedu Amenti, El-Mohajjed Shepsuel. Islam?
Islam. And we want to give honors to you, Grand National Secretary of the State, for that special measure. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. It don't get no plainer than that. To all of the Moors that read from the Book of Fire. And it's very important that we understand these measures that we brought here before we go forth anywhere else, because most of the time these become the expressions here. They become like a barrier to our people, before we can even give them information. And I want to share a few drawings before we go further into this language, to confirm everything that our chairman said. And also we want to let our family see where our family is along the way, so that we know how to address our family. We ain't gonna spend too much time in it, but we're gonna show you some drawings here, and then we're gonna get into the gist of the measure. Now, you seen the map that our chairman showed. Let me reshare my screen here, and let me get out of here first. This layout I'm in, so I can make sure that it's sharing to y'all in a good size that you can actually see it. So I'm gonna share the entire screen. Islam is well to our family out there. Sister Sasha Bay, Islam, honors to you. Sister Renee, honors to you. Jeff Billingzell, honors to you. Noble Bryan, honors to all of you, family. Make sure you be mindful to like, share, and subscribe the video, because the more you like, share, and subscribe, it raises the algorithm so people can come in here and hear this truth. And I actually have it too now to where you all are able to get these measures and even share them to your platform. So, make sure you do that as well. So I want to just go back to the map that our chairman showed us in the Book of Fire briefly. And we love all of the history that was being given. He made it plain, So it's a reason that we chose all of these things to be read, especially all of this here letting you know different portions of Africa. It's important that we understand all these different places here, that was mentioned in the kingdoms and the countries of what we call the Moorish Empire. Now, this is very important. If you notice, the chairman demonstrated here, the Hammatites in their particular area and portion on how far they went, Northwest and Southwest Africa, so to speak, right? But then you had, those who were in Northeast and Southeast Africa, and notice he has the origin of the human family in this particular area here, and you see Cushites, and this is Eden. This particular map was known, in the ancient land, and you would actually see it upside down. They call it a kubalon. You see, it's called a kubalon. So this is special map here. Once you understand and comprehend it, you see how it is that our ancestors came exactly from where, our holy prophet, tell you they came from. A lot of our people don't know is that there was a migration out of the area, of Africa, to where people, settled here at a particular time in what we call, the eye of the Sahara or the Richat structure, which is where the Atlantean civilization come from. This would be Atlantean Ocean over here. Once there was a continental drift, because this was going all the way back to the time when everything was still Pangea even. So when the separation took place, causing this Atlantic Ocean, so to speak, this particular portion ends up rising up, so to speak, and the civilization that was here, the centric ring city that you would see often depicted in Atlantis, which look a lot like our symbols and ensigns, like the circle 7, those rings. But nevertheless, once it rose up, water rescinded from the earth itself, causing that civilization to wash away into the ocean. And that's why beneath the Atlantic Ocean right now, you can find, a whole civilization at the bottom. You can even see the mud flats today. That is proof of this, the scientific proof, and even the description that had been given by Plato and Solon, which they say they got from Kemet. But nevertheless, after this civilization fell, the people basically migrated back, into these special areas. You see, same areas that they had come from, but here, all the way up into the Arabian Peninsula and so forth and so on. You see? So when we go into this special history and we see our people not only migrated out and came here, and basically spread it back into these special places, but there were other migrations like second, third, and, we can go on and on about these migrations that go outside of this. But looking at the chairman's, map and the pattern that he presented here, now let us go over here. I want to go to my DNA markers. And I'm doing this not to get into the DNA aspect, but I want you to see the map that they gave here. It's very important that our people get this drawing. If you notice, this is what they say the L3, which is the E1B1A gene, the Y DNA and all that right there is linked up with that. But look at the same area here that is given on this map of them saying, my marker originated, which is Sudan, you can say Kush, some people say even Somaliland, and put all that's a part of the same area. These are the same areas that the chairman mentioned, and then it says haplogroup. It says migrations of your maternal line. That's dealing with the mother. If every person living today could trace his or her maternal line back over thousands of generations, all of our lines would meet at a single woman who lived in Eastern Africa between 150,000 to 200,000 years ago. Though she was one of perhaps thousands of women alive at that time, only the diverse branches of her haplogroup have survived today. And the story of your maternal line begins with her. They was telling me that my maternal line began with this lady. So we can see the accuracy in what our chairman has taught us in the Book of Fire and what that lineage is. And I'm doing this to show our family who think it's impossible for us to descend through these lines. And the chairman was telling us we got to trace ourselves through the genealogy. Now, he already said this. This book of fire been written, since basically, we can say that around the time year 2000, and even before that, to be honest with you. We can go into that aspect, but these maps that were sent to me recently in my DNA chart has the same information that my chairman had already put out here. You see, this is basically scientific backing. In all actuality, me being right here with my Moorish kin right now, I'm the primary source of proof from what they showing here. Not going into that aspect because we know many of those on the panel, when they trace their lineage, it's more than likely going to be very similar to my lineage as well. Because we all came through, the same lineage or the tunnels of oppression and enslavement. And a lot of those trade posts were named in that where it was speaking of the kingdoms and all of that. Some of those were trade posts. They speak of Freetown that was built actually in I was watching the movie the other day. I was telling our Moorish kin about it, the Book of Negroes, where they had this sister that was took into bondage, through the Fulahide or Fulani. These people were known as Moors, and our people don't understand that the term Moor, was a blanket term that referred to the people during that time. They don't want to accept that, but they will accept Black, Negro, colored, African American as a blanket term for our people. And I was talking to our brother Marvin Edwards Bay and saying that we can actually feel almost a sense, of domestic racism coming from our own people. With the hatred that they have for the Moors is no different than the way the European hate the so-called Negro, Black, and colored people. And this is a sad situation where we have our people. Not only do we understand what it feels like to be hated, by those who enslaved our people, but to have a feeling of being hated the same way by your own people, that's a whole nother degree. Family, it's a real sad situation, but this is the truth. And we know what it feels like to be hated as Moors. Our people are prejudiced against us. You see? And it's a sad situation. They don't even know why. All because they have been told a lie, that persists today. We're going to touch on that. And it also said here further on the maternal group, it says you descend from a long line of female ancestors that can be traced back to Eastern Africa over 150,000 years ago. These are the people of your maternal line. And your maternal haplogroup sheds light on their story. See? It says commission. Your maternal haplogroup is L3H1B1A. As our ancestors ventured out of Eastern Africa, they branched off in diverse groups that crossed and recrossed the globe over tens and thousands of years. Notice it said crossed and recrossed. I showed that earlier when I was talking about the migration, coming out of, the seat of civilization all the way into the Arabian Peninsula and so forth and so on. But then it says some of their migrations can be traced through haplogroups, families of lineages that descend from a common ancestor. Your maternal haplogroup can reveal the path followed by the women of your maternal line, right? So it shows all of these as special measures, family. And I showed you that one already. But if you look at that map, pay attention to it down here. A and B, maps A and B. Look at the L3 in that same area. This is where the garden is on the chairman's map, and then migrating all the way up here into these areas here. You see? So they go to this area. This is what is called the Sahel up through here. And when we say Sahel, I'm gonna show that to you in a second. This is the area, we're going up the Nile. If you go into this would be Upper Kemet here. This would be Lower Kemet up here. So Kemet actually was established, in Upper Kemet. And then you had up in this region where the Hyksos end up coming in, which they came out of the northern regions, you see, and they came in, often through this particular area here through the Levant. Some of them even crossed over the sea up here, you see. And so coming into this special area here, this is where they started at later, way later, but we had already built civilization, the Kushites, the Nubians, who they were referred to. It's important that we actually know this stuff. And there was, again, another migration of our people crossing over the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea is what it really called, and re-inhabiting this area here. So this is why we say we're indigenous to the planet. We were all over these places, you see. So there are migrations here. This is the Caucasus Mountains up here. So it ain't strange the Hyksos that are coming, and in this region are called the Hyksos, or the Caucasian. But we have to understand that language itself, move with the people. The people move with language. The archaeology follows the etymology, and vice versa. So once we understand this, we will stop having these frivolous arguments, so to speak, And it even goes here to another portion in my DNA, and it goes a little more in detail. And it says haplogroup L3. Your branch of L is a haplogroup L3, which arose from a woman who likely lived in Eastern Africa between 60,000 and 70,000 years ago. So it's bringing it up to the most modern time. It told you about the ancient, goddess, from 200,000 years ago. But then it says, when we come a little closer, it gives us more detail. It says, while many of her descendants remain in Africa, one small group ventured across the Red Sea, likely across the narrow Bebel Mendeb into the tip of the Arabian Peninsula. So that'll be going up into here. You see, this is what they call Shabbat. In fact, Shabbat means seven. These are also the lineage of Cush, according to the biblical teaching. Sheba and Seba. In fact, the name Seba in its root goes back to Seb, which is the name of Al-Sar's father. Seb is referred to in the ancient Comedian teachings, and he is said to be the father of Al-Sar, Sep. So once we understand it, and they say Keb sometime in Geb, but Sep is also used as the father of Al-Sar. Those three different names, they use it. So from that special measure, what we learn, if they say that this is the son of Cush, Seba, then we can see a connection of Ham. We can see a connection of Ham giving birth to his son Cush. And remember, this is where, old man Cush migrated, into the northwestern and the southwestern shores. His son, settled over here. You see, northeastern and southeastern. And this is how everything was populated. But they're giving you the history of the goddess or the god woman, right? Now, if everything, when it comes to dealing with the civilization itself, comes from here, like the chairman mentioned, that doesn't negate what Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke of in relation to dealing with Canaan, because we know Cush was up here, as well. The original Cushites inhabited the peninsula of Arabia. You see, this is basically using a scientific method to explain what our chairman already explained. So now, if you look into this, at one time there was a portion where Africa was only a little place that was right up here. Africa became later known as the continent, after, changes and so forth and so on. So when you hear me talk about the Sahel, being in this special region, this actually comes over from the Sudan. And the Sahel moves all the way through here, over into West Africa. And so my DNA was said to go straight from over through here. Chad, Niger, Mali, Mauritania, and I would guarantee you most of our people, their particular lineage runs through the same area, most of us. This is known as Moorish territory, family. All of these people at some time were known as Moors, the Niger, the Mali Kingdom, Mauritania especially, because that's the ancient root from whence the word Mari gave birth to Moor, through that particular term. So if you go here, in this particular area in L3, 59,000 years ago, they come a little closer than the last one. It says your maternal line stems from L3H, one of the oldest daughter haplogroups of L3. The members of L3 are all descend, it says, a woman who lived nearly 60,000 years ago. It says, and perhaps in the vicinity of present-day Ethiopia, which is Kush. We know that term means something divided to us, but we talking about Kush, Nubia, Put, all of that right there. So this is what it's saying. It says, her descendants migrated westward along the southern fringe of the Sahara Desert to the Atlantic coast of Africa. And that's what they're talking about right there. That's the migration straight through the Sahel, right? The haplogroup is also found in Yemen. Yemen is right here. See, remember we was talking about the Kushites that crossed over here? In fact, even the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he speak of the tribe of Shabazz, which our chairman also mentioned in the book of Fire, the tribe of Shabazz, people don't know the root of the word Shabazz is Shabab, which means 7. That's the seed of Kush. And he say that they migrated from, the holy city of Mecca, into the Nile Valley civilization. He basically get the same history that we give, that the prophet gave, where he got it from. He got it from the prophet as far as dealing with the migration process from the holy city into this particular area. Then this civilization was set up. And he said it was set up along the Nile Valley. That's what our brother said. So he followed the teaching of the prophet as well. But anyway, it says the haplogroup is also found in Yemen, just across the Red Sea from Ethiopia. Elsewhere, L3 reaches its highest levels among the Dantaga of Tanzania, who migrated relatively recently from the Sudan. So this is one of the most recent migrations, into the Sudan, right? So all of this through DNA goes into, again, a scientific expression. So some of these different places, when you deal with the history of Mauritania in the pre-colonial era of the Ghana Empire, Almoravid dynasty, which was established by the Moors. You had the Almohades dynasty as well. This is where I end up drawing that name from, in representation of the 2 men of the mountain, of the Atlas Mountains. Because the Atlas Mountains is said to be the actual root of Mauritania when you go and do deeper research. So you had the Mali Empire, the Sadi Sultanate, the Songhai Empire, and the Sanhaja. You see, it says from 1960 to 1978, and it goes all the way up to the present. Now, the most important expression about this Sanhaja here is because if you go back to a picture that I have, it's a picture that actually was featured on the show, and it's on my page right now. Y'all know the one I'm talking about, where we got the prophet when he was young as an Egyptian adept. We got the chairman there. I'm standing there. Got the Prince of Peace there, and then we have the Sanhaja, a group of Sanhaja, that was actually there. And we see the prophet, in my research, with a group of those in the city of Cairo, that Sanhaja group of Moors. And he is definitely featured in there, in that particular area, which is basically a group of adepts, and you can see them dressed in the same type of garb that the Prince of Peace will be wearing, with the vests and, the pantaloons, and, they dress the same way. You see a lot of Moors demonstrating like that. Moreover, back in the day, you would see it all the time, but you would see, more than likely you see the Prince of Peace. Even in a lot of other times, he had the vest on with the pantaloons, just like the Sanhaja. So where did he get this from? You know, where was this depiction from? I'm gonna show it to you so our people that don't know what I'm speaking of can see this right here. It's important that we, because I like to put this stuff to rest. I don't like to keep going back over the same thing over and over again, but unfortunately, you know, our people have a problem, you know, with accepting things, so we have to address these things a little bit more. Ain't nothing wrong with using the hammer repetition either, though. So I want to show you this picture that I'm referring to, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we ain't in no rush. We're gonna have an open measure too once we open up the floor, because we're gonna have our family participate with us in this special drawing. Let me make sure I get it. I might have passed it. Here we go, right here. This is the picture I'm referring to, family. Okay. So if you notice, this is the one where I pointed out, and then I have another picture too, you know, of showing this is around the time when the prophet was said to be over there in the east, the same exact time period. And this brother, I was able to pinpoint, you know, and many agreed that, you know, that's the prophet. You can see the similarity, even though it's kind of blurry because I couldn't really blow it up. But right here, right? He's phased up and everything. This is the whole group of the men. And it's funny because looking down here, you know, in this group of the Sanhedrin, and this is actually the picture that I blowed up right here, this brother here. You know, if you look down here, I also see one that looks exactly like our brother Deuce Ali, Muhammad. You know, and it's said that him and the prophet knew each other. But that's a whole nother history. But if you look at the Prince of Peace right here, notice he has the same vest attire on. And he have other pictures where he dressed the same way. You know, you can see Prophet Medu Re Ali right here as a young Muslim, you know, demonstrating, you know, as he was. And see, even with the garb that our chairman has on, you know, even though it's a long garb, you know, this is a common garb that is worn by the Moors. You know, that deep blue, you know, with the embroidered features on them, you know, and that's basically what they was demonstrating here. You know, the red fez and that same special type garb, only vest up with the embroideries on it. So when we do the research, we do it thoroughly, family. We don't play with our people. We ain't here for play. This is actually another picture of that same Sanhedrin, you know, and this right here in Cairo at that same time. That's uncanny right there, family. You know, but that's a whole nother measure right there. So all these, both of them pictures I showed you was around the same time period. So I'll let the people, you know, go into that aspect right there. You know, this is a powerful demonstration in and of itself. Like I say, the general opinion of men will never alter the nature of the truth, though. So knowing all of this, if we speaking of these people as being Moors and all of these things, then you understand that names change, family. You know, but that doesn't change who the people themselves are. You know, so again, here's another map of the Sahel, going through the Sahel. See that red desert on the side of the featured green, which explains the reason why most of the banners of these people are red and green, which explains why it comes in us. Because here we go, coming through the Sudan, Chad, Niger, you know, all of that. You know, this is Nigeria, you know, Mali, Empire, Mauritania, Senegal, you know, all of this in the Senegambia and all that there. I got that DNA in me too, but my DNA is 85%, you know, West Africa, with a small percentage of, you know, other different measures, even native drawings we have in us. So it goes all the way down here. That's 80% from here on down, covering the whole rest of the map. You know, my particular DNA is attached to that whole region. Not to mention that there were those who migrated from here up into this area, you know. But remember, the Puttites, you know, came out of this particular area anyway and migrated over here as well. There were Puttites here and there were Puttites who remained in this area. You see, so once you understand that, then you get a clear conception of what our chairman was pointing out to us. You see? And here it is right here, what I was speaking when I say they migrate over here, then go up into here. You see? So it was the Moors who established the empire up here, see? And what this is what we call the Iberian Peninsula, which is where we also find the root for the language that we created and called Mari, Maribic is what we call it. The Moabite, you know, Mari tongue, Medu Re En Kmt, so to speak. This is what we demonstrate. Medu Re En Mari. And so our language come here. The Arabs came later. The Moors were the ones who established this civilization. Our brother John Henry Clark made that clear. He said that, you know, the Moors invading Spain, he said this was a completely African invasion. The Arabs came later, and there was conflict between the two that caused the fall of the Moorish Empire because they were so busy infighting, they let the people overthrow them. And our brother John Henry Clark said, you know, that's why he was upset with both, you know, the Arabs and the Moors, because they allowed themselves to be overthrown. And he also said that it's going to be, it takes somebody in the future that's able to demonstrate, you know, this measure, because we are forced to be reckoned with. You know, and if he had to accept between the two religions, Christianity and Islam, he would accept Islam. Y'all seen that. You know, people say they honor these scholars, but they don't honor what they taught. So when we go further into Mauritania, as I was speaking on the history of the Mari, right? It talks about ancient Mauritania. Notice it's going right up by the Iberian Peninsula. And they have a map with this on here. Remember, Africa would have been over here, you know, during that time instead of being the whole map. So it tells you here, it says the original inhabitants of Mauritania were Darfur, presumably a Mende ethnic group connected to the contemporary Arabized minor social group, which was the Amagrin, a fishermen of the Atlantic coast, right? You see, it says the territory of Mauritania was on the fringe of the geographical knowledge of Libya in classical antiquity. What is it talking about when it speaks of Libya? If you notice in most of the sources, we talk about North Africa. This is where the Carthaginians set up. These were the Puttites that moved into Carthaginian. And the Carthaginians came out of this. Carthage, Hannibal. You see, it was these same people migrating. So we really can see the wave of migration moving from here across the whole of the Sahel and even North Africa into Algeria. Once you understand that this is all our people, and you understand that the Libyans were even called Mareu in the Kemetic language. I'm talking about in the Egyptian language, you will find them being referred to as the Mareu. You see? But anyway, going back to it and closing this measure here out right here, it says the territory of Mauritania was on the fringe of geographical knowledge of Libya in classical antiquity. Berber immigration, it says, took place from about the 3rd century. Now notice this now. Berber we know is a misnomer. So we understand what's being said. I'm just posting it as it is without altering. You know, this is just a modern interpretation of it that I put beside the maps. You know, I just cropped it out in the way that it's taught. But we know about the invention of the Berber name and who did it. We know the Arabs did it and why they did. Mauritania takes its name from the ancient Berber kingdom, right? This is the person that's narrating this now. Ancient Berber kingdom and later Roman province of Mauritania. And thus ultimately from the Mari people. That means that the name Mauritania come from the Mari people themselves that later became a Roman province after Rome came in and was named Berber, and thus ultimately from the Mari people, even though the respective territories do not overlap, historical Mauritania being considerably further north than modern Mauritania. See, though Mauritania is right here now, there's a map where all of this whole area was once referred to as Mauritania. This whole area. We got maps on that. Well, this whole area was. So in other words, that would be referring to, this whole people. If Mauritania come from Mari, then this whole area as a collective, is connected to that special name. Now, if you think that is something that is made up, right? If you think that is something that's made up, and I ain't even got to go into the Ghanaian Empire and all of that right there. I'm going to show you something else that's very important and very key. And I was showing this to our family the other day. And you all have seen this, but it makes more sense now that you can see, an actual pathway, especially when I was showing you the tracing of the DNA. I gave this history, to the family when I presented it on Sarnetta's channel. If you look here and notice in this chart right here, you see Put. Remember I said the Puttites deal with the Libyans and the Moors? Everything I say, family, is going to always check out. I ain't never just telling my people something. I'm always giving them the truth. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Josephus writes, thus of the four sons of Ham, time is not at all hurt the name of Cush. For the Ethiopians over whom he reigned are even at this day, both by themselves and by all men in Asia, called Cushites. You see, and we can go all the way into that, but I'm saving a little time to make it plain. You've seen this one before, if you remember. This is from a Hebrew dictionary. This is Ham. It means hot, warm, applicable to north of Africa where the Numidians and the dark and swarthy Mauritanians, right? It says, Moors worship Amun Ra. So it's telling you that the Moors took the teachings of Amun Ra, as veneration. European would mostly put this a Hebrew dictionary, so they're gonna say they were worshiping Amun Ra, but we would say they were paying homage to the ancestors. You see, Amen, we know, is also the name that connects to the word Moor, or Mar, which is there. So this is going all the way back to Kemet now. The thing is what people failing to realize. I'm showing you different sources of different people saying the same thing. I ain't showing you one source. I'm showing you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different people in different time period from different places, all the way up into the modern time saying the same thing. Even in this book here, I showed how in the Hebrew language, they talk about the Egyptian origins in this text. It's Eden in Egypt by Ralph Ellis. And it says the term being used for lights is Mare or Maore, which was derived from Mari, meaning brilliance. This is dealing with Amun Ra. Even though this is the Hebrew term, this is talking about Amun Ra, the sun, the light of divinity, the hidden one, right there in the Hebrew language. When they say, let there be light, Ore, Mo'ore, that's what's being referred to right there in the book of Genesis. And that's what this whole book is talking about. You see? So once we understand that, then it's easy to understand why our brother said what he said here, G.M. James, who was killed for this information. When he tell you in the 8th century AD, the Moors and natives of Mauritania and North Africa moved, right? And they invaded Spain and they took with them the Egyptian culture, which they had preserved. See, we giving you a direct line, like the chairman said, being able to trace ourselves. Masterminds are able to trace themselves back, and thus they know we're giving it to you comprehensively. And our people still want to fight it. Racist against your own kind. Shame on you. So knowledge in ancient days was centralized. It belonged to a common parent and system. So this comes with the language. This comes with the wisdom. Okay, the wisdom teaching, the Sabbath teachings, or the mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. It says, as such, the people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptian and became the custodians of the Egyptian culture, which they spread through the considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, Europe. During the occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture and civilization. The schools and libraries which they established became famous throughout the medieval world. You see, science and learning were cultivated and taught. And it says the schools of Cordova, Toledo, Seville, and Saragossa attained such celebrity that they, like their parent Egypt, attracted students from all parts of the Western world. And from them arose the most famous African professors in the world that the world has ever known, in medicine, and surgery, astronomy, mathematics. But these people from North Africa did more than merely distinguish themselves in Spain. They were really the recognized custodians of African culture to whom the world looked for enlightenment. So if you are in opposition to this history, you're in opposition to our ancestors. You have deemed yourself an enemy against your own people, whether you know it or not, whether you admit it or not. But it goes on and show you all of these special things. But my key is, not only did our brothers say this, but when we come down here, family, and these are the Libyans too, by the way. This is what they look like. You see that Libyan headdress with that feather coming up out it? And like I always like to say, I say this right here most definitely look like the prophet in stone. And this is coming, from a lot of the temples of the ancient Cushites. Come on, family. We can't deny that. Look at this. This ain't got nothing to do with no masonry. All that come from our ancestors. So we can see that the Moors are more and more, of Europe and more of India. Marias of Ashoka that the prophets speak of. So when we say the name Moor go all the way into India and all the way across Europe, family, this ain't no lie. This is true history that you rejected. We can prove this, have proved it many times. Just like I'm going over it right now. You see? Go look this up. Mauryan Empire. The Moors. This is India. There they are. They got the turbans on their head even right there. And notice the Egyptian culture that's up in the writing, the style of, what they doing. That's Ashoka there as well. Ashoka was a Buddhist. Remember, the Indus Kushite Valley civilization are descendants of the Meru Kushite Valley civilization. There was also a language known as Meroitic, which deal with symbols, but then the key to deciphering it, unbeknownst to many, is Old Nubian. We're going to get into that, in due time. So, this Moorish culture, you find it everywhere. This Kemet culture, the E.A.R.S, among the Turks, August Khan. See the sun disc over here. This is in Turkey now. Look at the symbols, family. All of this coming from a people that evolved out of the Sudan. When you go into the Naga history and the Naga culture of India, all of that comes from the Meru Kushite civilization, because there was a temple of Amun there where they had a Piedmont, and you would see the lion with the many arms that you would see like in the Hindu culture. This was in Kemet. You see, we can't make this stuff up. So when it comes over here, and I was trying to read this to one of our brothers, that was actually up in here, and he took it out of context because he don't believe all these people bore that name Moor, but the name Moor go all the way back to Kemet and all these places that are named here. We just proved it to you in what we read. We proved it to you, the link in the DNA. We are today what our forefathers were yesterday, minus doubt and contradiction. That means in the culture and the historical, base along with the language that we can trace, and we tracing it right now through the etymology. Etymology is the key. So it says the new mixed cultures and wave of sea migrants, right? It's speaking of the Phoenicians and the Canaanites here, but it says the new cultures then began trade contacts with the Iberian Peninsula and became ancestors of the historic Mari. Let me blow this up. They'll say I made this up, even though it comes from a book that existed, during the 1800s. They'll tell you I made it up. The Moors and the Numidians, their descendants today are the Amazigh, the Mozabite, the Tarega, who live in the scattered communities across Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Mali, Niger, Mauritania. They speak various Amazigh languages belonging to the Hamo-Semitic family related to ancient Egyptian and African Great Lakes region. And we done showed you them languages already, right? Even the Punic, that's basically the same as what they call cuneiform among the Phoenician. You think that's strange that a Mesopotamian language came over into West Africa and it not be connected to that, and they not be connected to each other? The Amaru, the Amorite, the Maru, the Mari. I got all that up in here. You see what I'm saying? So I don't just talk this stuff and make this stuff up, family. We showed you before the DNA test about the Ibero-Maurusian. You see? There it is right there again. We're going to give you a recap since, our people don't get it. See the Mari right there? Amaru? You think I made that up? Now, all you got to do, for those who like to say, well, what are sources at? Google the name that you see on the map. Once you Google the name that you see on the map, it's going to take you directly here, because that's the way I put my information together. It's the root information that'll take you directly to the source. Problem is you want somebody to give you everything in your hand and you don't have to do no research. I gave you the source by giving you the name. And if you're honest, you will admit to the truth. But if not, we ain't worrying about it. We're going to let the ancestors sort you out. So we know that this is a phase. You see, we know, as we spoke of the Richat structure earlier, where it is. We know about the Demari and the Moorish gods. We know this. So we ain't got to convince ourselves. And we ain't trying to convince ourselves either. You see? So you can't get around this right here, family. No matter how you try to wish it away, the general opinion of men will never alter the nature of the truth. No matter where you go, all in the Hebrew language, the oldest Bible, Geneva Bible. Even though they corrupted and said black or more here, they had it in the Bible originally. There you go right there, more. Ethiops. I just showed you that in the etymology pictured above. We showed you here, the Moorish mentioned here. I'm showing you different sources because that's what brings authenticity and fact to the measure. This is one of the oldest dictionaries. Well, it ain't a dictionary, it's history of the Moors from 1787. It's by Adam Anderson, a historic and chronological deduction on the currents of the earliest accounts. When I do it, brother, I try to go back to the most ancient source that can be found. So if you go look for it, I already been there. Now notice what they're saying in this source. It's talking about the Moors, right? The Portuguese even found Moors at Canton in China. So there are Moors were in Canton in China, right? This is what they're saying in this particular record, right? We ain't even talking about China, but they're telling you Moors was up there. For those who think we making this up. So that when the men speak of the Moors in India, in our days, we are not to think otherwise of them than merely as Mohammedan posterity of the conquerors. It says, which was necessarily observed in this place, because it appeared very strange to many who read only modern accounts of India, how such numbers of Moors could go forth from Barbary. And that's another, as a way of saying Berbers, right? The E.A.R.S put that. It says the ancient Mauritania from whence the word Mar. Let me blow this up. This during the 1700s. Now you can believe that I made that up yourself. I just gave you the source so you can go find that yourself. If you lie and say that I made that up right there, something wrong with you. Which we write more is derived. So when I keep telling you that the word more derives from the word Mar in Mari family, I ain't saying this to say. I'm saying it because I done studied it. I'm speaking it off the head. I know what I studied, and I studied it more than just in this area. It's just one of the other sources. So I'm being what I know, not what I'm told. And it says the proper country of the Moors, Mauritania, from the 1700s. I wasn't even born then. Goodness gracious. America was just being born, around this special time. So we got to stop the madness. Here go a dictionary from this is a Latin dictionary from 1872, family. You see this? Mari. Let me blow that up for you again. Mari. Moors or Mauritanians, the inhabitants of Mauritania. Marus. A Moor. You see? Marus. And it goes on. Okay, African. Mauritanian. We know who the people that call Africans are. Mauritania, a country of Africa on the coast of the Mediterranean between the Atlantic Ocean and Numidia. The modern Fez in Morocco having been divided into Mauritania, what they call Cassariensis, and Tingitada. This is actually the ancient name of the Tefnik. What they deal with the Tefnik script, all that connect to that name. It was called also Mauritania. And then the Greek came up there, with their little demonstration in Marusi and all of that stuff. So you got to know the history and stop believing what people tell you without doing the research. Here's another one right here. New Learned History, 1923. See, I like to pick the ancient classical sources. I want to know what it was before they changed it. For those who like to say these sources are outdated, because every book has a bibliography. And bibliography is basically the book's lineage. So you are able to trace the book back to the source. I like to go back to the ancient because all of us coming from the same information, just more modernized. Mauritania, an ancient division of northern Africa, originally in the northwest angle of the continent between the Atlas Mountains and the Mediterranean, of which modern Morocco forms a part. Before the Roman conquest, it included the territory of East Algiers. Remember, I was telling you all of North Africa was a part of it until they annexed it. The inhabitants' name, the Mari, it says may have been of Berber origin, right? And we already know that's a misnomer again. So they still talking about our people. Their name has been perpetuated in that of the Moors. In other words, the name Moors come from Mari again. Now, this is from 1923. The other source is from the 1700s. Totally different time periods, but yet they both agree that the name Mari gave birth to the name Moors. For those of you who think I made this up. Now, here's an actual picture of the Mari. Right here. This is a picture of the Mari. Look at the head, that wig that they have on their head. Where did they get that from? Oh, is that Kemetic right there? Is that Nubian right there? Is that a Kemetic bus? Oh, did I not say these people come through the lineage of the Puttites and ancient Libyans who were really from the line of the Kemites as well? It says the name Mare, and it spells it with an E. Here, E is interchangeable with I. We understand it in sound shifting. The name Mare has been said, right, was first used in one of the several dozen, and this is actually from Ivan Van Sertima's work, by the way. Dana Reynolds, that sister still doing great work right now talking about this. And they use the term black tribes that occupied North Africa before the Christian era. The tribe itself included several clans, including the Mari Mazacinis, the Mari Bares, the Mari Bugada. It says Mari, Gentini. So all these tribes, though they're different tribes, notice the Mari is used there, right? It is one of these clans, the Baris or the Barbaries, it says, whose name was frequently amended to Barbaries or Berbers in ancient Roman texts. See, now you're getting the history on how these things became what they was, but these are the Mari people in their original state. I don't care what they called them later or what the European called them. We're talking about what the original inhabitants called themselves. Claudian, a prominent Roman 4th century AD, complained about Gildo, the Moorish ruler in Algeria, claiming that in handing over Roman matrons of Sidon, it says, to his fellow Moorish countrymen, he made hideous Ethiopian hybrids to fright the cradles of Roman provinces of North Africa. One of the corporate names in regards are the Berbers. You see? Gildo himself was one of the Bahris. It says the use of the term Berber in this paper was thus for the original indigenous. Do y'all? Well, we already know the people on the panel know, but do you know what the word indigenous means? Indigenes of North Africa, known simultaneously as Moors. And we showed you they even call them Ethiopians in the Hebrew dictionary up there. It says, who were wandering Libyans, spoken by Herodotus and the descendants of people y'all praise. So everything I'm saying, checking back out to the same information that I put out there. But y'all will say, he all over the place. No, you don't know how to trace yourself back. That's why you think that. So when you go to this book, it make that plain, Invent the Berbers. When we come here to the English language, and we look at the word more, mar, and dark, right? We see in the old German, which a lot of people would say German has some Egyptian roots. We got a whole European from over there in that area, among the Welsh and all of that, talking about he done translated the hieroglyphics. But anyway, even in old German, mar, mari, more, moro, mora, more. And it constantly goes on. These are different corruptions of the name coming from more. This is etymology. We can't make this stuff up, people. And when you check it yourself, it's going to say the same thing. We can go on and on and on with this. And most of these you'll find actually in England. This is another ancient source. And we just showed you more in that source. They were saying Ethiopia. This is actually from the 1600s. When you get this getting so far back in that information, basically you end up seeing the Latin. But you can still make it out, kind of. See more land. Come on, family. I mean, how much more do you need to be showed in order for you to comprehend? And I don't like to talk like that. You see, but when you act and ignore things that are plain, we got to emphasize it like that because you ain't getting it. And we can't see how. You see what I'm saying? He talking like he better. He exalt. No, I ain't. I'm trying to get you to understand. But you steady trying to rebel, saying what it ain't got nothing to prove it. You just talking. You won't bring none of your information for. You just got an opinion because somebody told you who the Moors was. So when I say prove it, all you have is a rebuttal and argument. This is all the time we dealing with our people, family. You know, Mauritania was the northwest province of Africa, another different source. Derived its name from the inhabitants of the Mari. Who are the inhabitants? The Greeks at first called the people Marusi and the country Marussia, in which they were followed by some Latin poets, meaning they copied what the Greeks said, but they afterwards adopted the proper appellations of Mari and Mauritania. So that's how the Greeks got the name Mari. They didn't give it to the Moors. I keep telling you, they took it from the native people, but they don't want to hear that part Because to hear that part mean they have to accept that the Moors named themselves. But they want to keep telling you the European named the Moors. When all of this evidence is telling you that these people named themselves. That's scientific racism coming from our own people, basically. And that's a sad situation. A poor animal that can't heal itself. Morasia, or Mauritius, another name for the Mari, ancient Moors, Moorish race. This existed before me, but they'll say I made it up though. So, you know, I just wanted to show our people this right here. You know, like family, when you understand what consensus of scholarship is, you understand that this stuff can't be made up. You know, it can't be made up. And when you see the truth, you're able to embrace it and accept it as it is. And one that actually sum it all up, you know, is even right here, for example. And this is coming from the works of Gerald Massey, a book of the beginnings. Look at what he say. And we're going to go ahead and get into the grandest aspect of our measure after I show our family one more thing. It says the book of the beginnings. It says that the name of Tameri, because we cover in etymology, we still dealing with language right now, is the land of Mehru, which is Meru. And that the ancient Meru, remember Meroitic Empire, Sudan, Cushites? It says, well, once the capital of two Egypts. It says, under this name, the first, lower, and upper were north and south. Our chairman mentioned this, if you remember, when our family was reading from the book of fire. It says the first, lower, and upper were north and south. It says, but Maori, or Mauru, is north and west, right? It said, and this in the keeping with the Meh, which is north, and Ruh as the horizon in the west. They talking about Northwest Africa again. And they talking about, you know, Egypt as well. They go that M&R, trace across both areas. Meru, Ethiopia, it says, was due north from the equator, but reckoning from Central Africa or from Habesh, Abyssinia, another name for Sudan. Didn't I just show you the DNA pattern? We shall find the land of the ancient Mari. Oh, you think I'm making this up, huh? Mauritania. Another source, family. I just told you it's the book of beginnings. And I be showing them sources. They be so starstruck and crazy to where they still be asking me for a source. And I done showed them 50 sources. Howsoever the district was bounded at different times was always to the northwest of our center, which travels from the equator down to Lower Egypt. Thus we have a Mari for the country of Northwest Africa, answering to the Mari name of Northwest as Mauru or Maru. This shifts the duality of Meru or Meru from the north and the south to the north and the west, just as it was shifted when the hinder part west was called Kept, a place of going down instead of the north. The name of the land lying northwest of the African center, always reckoning from the south, would deposit the names of the Mari. Let me blow this up. Land of Mamarica, a duplicated form of Morocco. As the Mari or the Moors went further north into Spain, Zepon. From these and other data may be drawn the inference that the Mari people were self-named, meaning they named themselves, right? It's a European telling you this. The one that you love, your daddy. As the immigrants who came from the northwest, one name, which is Maru, or Egyptian Meru, or Meroi, or Meheru, but they say I'm demonstrating pseudo etymology when I say this. European telling you though. The Mari name is that of the later Moors of the land under the Tropic Council of Northwest Equator, as well as of Ethiopia, the typical birthplace. and the name of the Moors found on the Egyptian monuments written Mari or Maori. But they say I made that up too now. This book was written way before I come into existence, but they'll say I made this up now. All I'm doing is giving them my research off the head because I don't need this paperwork. I can speak the history off of my head, but if I do that, you're going to say I made it up. So even when I show it to you, you say I made it up. So it really don't matter. So I'm here to teach the young and not yet born. They going to get it. The original Maori dwelt in northwestern land between the Atlantean and the Mediterranean, and their name is identifiable with that of Maori, whose traditions derive them from the Northwest. And I'm going to stop right there because I done really exhausted my point, and I got a couple of more of them up in here I could really do, but it ain't necessary. So when I tell you the name Mar and Amun Ra is the same, and you go against that, something wrong with you. You know, and we can go all over the place with this demonstration. Mir Wir, you know, the oldest bull, Kim Mir, Moore and Mar, you know. Oh, man. You see Amun holding that scimitar too, don't you? We inherited that from Kemet as well. You see, this is a Canaanite. And it talks about, you know, El here. This is dealing with the book, De Mari and De Patri. And it's speaking on this. See that? Tribal deity of the Moors, De Mari, the Moorish god family. Stop playing with yourself and get your mind right. You know? So that's why they call Kemet Mera, Patmera, Tameri. There you go. That M and R is traced back to the very name of Kemet itself, and not to mention them high priests that the brother G.M. James was talking about in Stolen Legacy. The high priest of Anu, they were the custodian. They the one that kept the knowledge. You see, so when Prophet Medu Re En Kmt talk about the Moabites, which are the Moabites, and he talk about them settling, all that has a lot to do with our people. And yet the Moors were down here as well. All these people are called, are known as Moors as well. You know, we done proved this. This is overkill, so to speak. You know, to resurrect our people again. Goodness gracious. So I just say all is well, but that's one lesson in etymology on one word. We can go further than that right there, but it ain't necessary. It's not even necessary. You know, in fact, it ain't even necessary to address this issue no more since I done did it so many times. You know, but a lot of our people will accept that over accepting the reality of what it is that we really represent. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you 2 clips, and we're gonna go further into our measure. We're gonna consult our scribes first and foremost, though, you know, and then we'll go further into the drawing. But I want to show you this here. I actually had one here. This is a conversation I was having. The Grand Secretary of the State and them had just left. And I want y'all to listen to this conversation and see what I be talking about. So now here's the sisters, they honoring us bringing self-determination on the manifest, right? This is the first session I was demonstrating. So I get pushback. One go to divert from the contrary.
It's all more. We can't hear the volume.
Well, it's low. Is it real low, or you can't hear it at all?
Can't hear it at all.
Oh, I see what I got to do. I didn't put the volume in there, so I got to add the volume to it, and then you can hear the sorry about that, Grand Secretary of State. Okay, there it goes. It says share tab audio, you know, and we're gonna share the audio right here. We do this for the people out there that really want to learn, family. We don't do it to, you know, beef and conflict and all that right there. We got to make it plain to you, though. Show you a clean glass of water. Chairman, because he was the last adept through the line of Prophet Medu Re En Kmt taught by the Prince of Peace. as Prophet Noble Drew Ali called him the Prince of Peace, and the Prince of Peace called him Swift Angel #1, and the degree of Committee and Adept was given to me. That ain't a name I made up. You know what I mean? So I'm the one. No, I'm just giving you the history. Now I don't take offense.
You want all roads to lead back to you.
Everything go to Kemet, fam, not me.
No, but right.
Everything
So
go back to you.
If everything goes to Kemet and not you, can you verify for me that the word Kim does mean dark brown, black?
You verify to you that the word Kemet means dark brown, black? Kim. That's what you said. I never told you Kim means black or brown.
Okay,
that's for you to prove.
That's
I won't accept that. No. That's what me and you went back and forth on this before, so you know my position.
Yeah, I know. Well, the audience doesn't know your position.
I don't agree. Okay, well, I don't agree. You know I don't agree with that statement.
Okay.
It means black land, but that don't mean black man. You know that, Brother Reggie.
No, I don't know that.
I seen you do know that.
No, I don't know
that. It means black land, but it don't mean black man.
In context, it can
That's
mean.
what they define it as too, because really the word black didn't even exist then.
Right.
Really
it is right here. It says Kim means
white.
Black.
Yeah, not even the word white existed. None of that. That comes later. These are descriptions.
No, I gave you the words, good brother.
Yeah, that's the land and not
good
the
brother.
man.
I'm just making you, good brother. I gave you the.
And this is why, Grand Secretary of the State, I didn't open up the floor beforehand, because I knew it was gonna go here. It ain't got nothing to do with what we supposed to be talking about. And see, that's what often happens when you go up there to demonstrate a measure. You have one come behind and try to redirect, and it's all based on him wanting to attack the name more. You see what I'm saying? Because he's trying to discredit more, because the people listening are accepting of it. You see, are they trying to get some understanding?
The words Hejet for white,
yeah,
or light, Kim for dark, brown for black.
We hear
you.
Yeah.
But Reggie know that I don't accept that. You know I don't agree with that. So there's nothing for us. We done went over this 4 or 5 times.
Okay, but the audience, the audience.
Can I ask a question, please? Why are you saying you don't agree with it? And clearly it says
I'm gonna tell you why I don't agree.
It says the Egyptians called their country Kemet, literally the black land. Kemet,
and that's what I said.
In ancient Egyptian. The name derived from the color of rich and fertile black soil,
which you go
to annually occurring now. Listen,
I
let me ask you something. Why would you consider the people to be called Kem if we come from Kemet?
I'm gonna show you. Okay? The word, like I said, refers to the soil and not the people.
Yeah, but we aren't considered.
Hold up, Queen. Hold up. Check me out. I agree with it referring to the soil. If that was the case, we would have been called Kemet in this new era in time. The word that we using as a description, though, when we look at the soil, they talking about the Nile, because the Nile is black. It's silty, very black. The Nile Valley, that soil is black. That's why they call it the black land. But when you look at us as a people,
sorry, Dulcie.
When you look at our skin complexion, that was something that was given later, and it has nothing to do with the way we define in the land Kemet. Because you got to remember, English came into existence years later. We accept that is what they meant, but we don't know if that's what the ancestors were saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but does Egyptian mean crypto?
That's Greek. That's Greek.
Okay,
that's Egyptian.
Okay.
Egyptian, which it really comes from Hikapta.
Yeah, I couldn't get the word out. Yeah, you got the right word.
No, but you was right, because they do use the term Egyptos, but it's really Hikaptas.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? It's dealing with what you call sound shifting in linguistics. You know, so you can still hear the same, like even when you say Egypt, Egyptus, Hikapta, you can see it, but it's just different dialects, so to speak, based upon the language that's coming through. You know, but I'm not in disagreement about the way that they are trying to describe the land, because we know the word black refers, look at the screen, you got black on the screen. We can find the soil in Nile that look like that. But as far as dealing with,
what was you saying?
I just wanna listen. I am not staying, Sister Freedom. I mean,
No, Reggie, don't leave,
publication.
brother. Don't read.
No. I'm not. I listen. I've already listen. This is Brother Reggie. Brother Reggie's already debated the Moorish Science Temple of America.
I've seen that.
Right? You have a different point of view. You are
That's right.
2.0. You are 2.0. I debated 1.0.
Yeah, you did.
Right?
You're right.
Give me my honors. And
I
respect.
honor you, brother. I honor you.
Give
But
me
they
my
wasn't me.
So
Ali Muhammad drugged the Moors. Let me say this. Said it drugged the Moors. Who else was it that drugged the Moors? A lot of them brothers did because they wasn't knowledgeable. But guess what?
Dr. Ali did.
Okay,
too.
so you are 2.0.
That's Ali Muhammad. And that's why I be spanking Lord Abba, spanking Tahaka Bay now, because they ain't represented the prophet right.
Okay.
So y'all don't know it. I bang on them.
Okay.
Cause they misrepresented. While that was going on, while the prophet was getting drugged through the mud, I was sitting there like looking at these dudes saying, boy, when I get a chance to get on there and get these people the truth, I'm gonna tear these Moors behind up that had the prophet misrepresented. I've been saying that for years. I even hit SETI up when he first started. I told him he was
have a different outlook on things.
I told him he was an agent. You know what I mean? He like, well, get in the ring, but I was never able to get up there with him at that time because we wasn't doing the YouTube stuff now. They was in the building up there in New York, you know, when I was watching this stuff. And so them brothers didn't care. A lot of them dudes were trying to fill their pockets. Me and Lord Albert don't get along. Me and Tahaka don't get along.
Why we just talk about good brother.
Huh? Go ahead.
Good brother.
Mm-hmm.
I think you made your point about your differences with Moors, and that you made public. And I've seen you early. I've seen you early on.
Many times. Right.
I've seen you early on. Right.
Right.
I've seen you out there. And I listen. I just wanted to say that the ancient Egyptians had a color scheme.
Yeah, they did.
Right. That they had a color scheme. And Brother Reggie has an article in the Journal of Pan-African Studies.
I seen you show it one time.
On this subject, right?
Right.
Right? And it is respected, right? Not often talked about. So we have a kind of different point of view, and this is your show. So I am not going to really interject your show. You gave me an important answer, right? And you gave the audience an important answer that the inhabitants of Africa came from this place that the prophet called Canaan.
That's right. That's correct.
And you can prove that, right? Or that's what you say. But for the audience who looks at plain language, right? In understanding, because if the prophet did not mean for it to say that, he would not have said it. So he said it, but he said it at a different time. Now we have more science.
Right. There you go. There you go. And we agree with that. And like I told you, didn't I say, Sister Freedom, he was speaking to a biblical people?
Right.
Like he couldn't even really go into.
My mom told me that though.
He was speaking to
okay, so listen, I exhausted my time. This is your show.
Right.
Obviously, we have intellectual disagreements, right?
Yeah, that's respectable.
And you can continue on. If Sister Freedom, at a later point, if you have some questions, I see Dulcinea's in there. She cheerleading.
Yeah, I said I read that article that you read, and I had some discrepancies with it myself because we know that color code system is not based on skin complexion, and we would have to go into your description of Hathor and different things that you were saying as far as that comes from them. But that's another time that we can actually do when
I was
just so confused. I'm just so confused about the Hathor.
Yes, I read your secretism paper. I did.
Which one?
Your one on what that Kmet is actually black. Sorry, my son wants to get into that. How Kmet means black. That's the one I read.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Dr. Reggie? Can we have you come back and
that's what I was
do a show because I want to ask a question to you right quick, Commission, if I can.
Okay. So
My question is about
thank you.
Wait a minute.
No, don't leave, Dr. Reggie. Wait, don't leave yet, friend.
Stay here, Reggie. Let him.
My question right quick is, because Kemet means black land, and because you guys said, I don't want to call you guys, I just want to say, because you said that the Moors discovered, or the Moors, that black meant Africa, and black described the Moors.
No, I didn't say
it didn't
that.
matter. Well, this is what Dawson said, that black described the Moors.
I know why she said
I didn't say that either.
Well, you said that black described Africa, and
Right.
in the Black Laws book, and it described Africa.
No, I didn't say it described Africa either, because black means civilist, merchant. It means slave. I think that's what you're trying to say, that I said that black means slave, which
I don't know what
you said it described Africa, it described slaves, it described slaves from Africa.
No, I didn't. I did not say anything about it describes Africa.
And that's how you threw it in last time.
Now, see, what happens is when that brother came into the class and what it was supposed to originally be demonstrated on, you interject, and this is what you cause. One have to go to explaining something that don't deal with nothing in regards to dealing with the conversation. I even told him, well, you know, this conversation dealing with self-governance and self-determination, right? You know, but ones feel if they can smear the name more, then this will stop the people from accepting what we're trying to bring to them. Hence that now you got to defend the name more and can't even finish dealing with what you're talking about because one is derailing, you know, the measure. Now he will make his departure, you will see.
No, I didn't just throw it in. I'm just saying I did not say that for the record. So you know, I do not think that black.
Did you look it up in the book, and then it said descendants from Africa?
Now, by the time we got done, everybody came back to the round table. And, you know, they understood, they had understanding, everything is good, right? And this is where I close out at. You know, the next time I was called back was the day before yesterday, so to speak. And this is when, you know, our young brother came in on the second show. And I'm going to just give you a clip of this right here. I'm showing you what's going on.
All right. So again, Commission brought up this nice.
Now, mind you, all these people, they want to come in the government by now. All of them saying they want to learn more. And so we sending these things out to the people. In fact, some of them want to speak with our people, like the sister here, Truth Bay, this sister, you know, Sister Dosing, they're already Moorish. All of them pretty much good. But this young brother that come in here in our class, he comes behind the measure to start another measure. I'm showing you what happened, and this is confusing our people in the audience. You know, it don't bother me. It don't offend me. Only thing I know is when we are teaching our people, the chairman always say that you don't let nobody take over your class. You know, and when you're dealing with that and somebody bring apples and oranges in, you know, what's the intent behind it? But anyway.
Beautiful display of this African looking statuette or sculpture. And he said it's a Phoenician. And under it had the label of Moor or Mori, something like that. And then when it was like the excerpt or the explanation of the image, it said the descendants, this is from memory, the descendants of these Moors are the modern day Tuareg, Amazigh, and they named one other North African tribe, right? So what did I say? I said, why doesn't it say that the descendants of these Moors today are the Igbo, the Mande, the Soninke, and West African tribes, which is where we would say that we come from if we're going to pick anywhere in Africa? Why is it only connecting to those North Africans? So then we started to go into what these people look like. All right. So again, Commission brought up this nice, beautiful.
Basically, all that information I just showed you, I explained just to our panel, you know, through the maps and everything, that these people are the same people, right? And in explaining who they are, I did the same thing. And so the young brother here that has come up into our class on numerous times, you know, he's trying to distinguish these tribes from the name Moor. And I'm telling him that the Moors consist of all of these people. Now I just showed y'all the Moor name went all the way back to China, India, all the way across Kush and Africa. So that should kill the whole conversation. I shouldn't have to go through all of that to say something. But when you have somebody that's intent on, again, derailing the bill, and this is after all these other sisters on here, except that one sister there that was very much in opposition to the Moors. She was very hateful toward the Moors, this sister here. You know, beside that, everybody else on the panel was like, man, we need to embrace our Moorish nationality, then that's what time and that's what we're gonna do. You know, to move ahead, we need to just arrange some meetings. So, you know, we have the drawing of reaching out to our sisters, you know, our secretaries or whatever, so they can draw with these, because some of these sisters was talking about, you know, coming together and dealing with us being able to get land and so forth and so on. Now, these are sisters that have jobs in these particular areas, you know, and they coming from different walks of life, but they are basically upset because they got turned down about the reparations. So I told them you would turn down because Negroes don't receive reparation. Black people don't receive reparation. And they all end up agreeing to that. They didn't give me no pushback or no fighting or nothing. And this brother came up in here just like the brother Reggie did to redirect the course. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you're on somebody else's platform, you got to honor the fact that they let whoever they want to let up on their platform. You know, but I'm just showing you why we end up always as a people, not the people on the panel, but our people out there. Why we always end up being at square one, because we always got our own people trying to set
so it. Big Bro Commission thinks he's a quick typer and puts in Mauritanian slaves, hits enter real quick, and thinks nobody caught it. But I caught it.
You see that right there? Now, I typed in Mauritanian slave to show that our people was being enslaved by the Moroccans. He want to make that like I'm trying to be slick because I put Mauritanian slave in there. But if I type Mauritanian right now, without putting slave in, it's going to show our people. And it's going to show slaves too. You see what I'm saying? Because they're being enslaved as we speak. But this is the type of thing people do when they're desperate for attention. They like to come up on platform to try to find anything they can. And he reaching, because you're going to see they're going to check him and tell him that he wrong. But it went so crazy, the brother got belligerent and went to cussing and all that. So I left the platform because I ain't going to sit in the presence of that right there. I ain't going to go back and forth. I said what I said. I ain't mad at you, but I'm going to leave you right there. Especially after you done been studying up under us here on these classes for a whole year. Now, whether you change your mind and you go somewhere else, we ain't trying to hold you on that. Be who you are if that's what you want to be. But you ain't got to come up here trying to attack the Moors, because that's what it became at the end. All these Moors this and the Moors that. And I don't want to be, okay, brother, I understand that. I don't know what's wrong with you. I ain't did nothing to you. But hey, it is what it is. If you want to be Native American, you don't have to attack the Moors because you feel like we're a threat. You know what I mean? That's crazy. And I call it agent provocateur activity, me personally. But we're going to keep it moving. You know, because all the people on there was telling me he was wrong.
So he types in Mauritanian slaves and brings up all these black people and said, this our people, family. This our people. You can't tell me they don't look like us. Fine. But give the history and don't act like you didn't type slave. Now, I got the history. And I'll tell you where I got it from. And I'll read it to you whenever you're ready, Dulcinea. So, Dulcinea, do you know the historical context of why these North African kingdoms have people who are intermixed and admixed? So,
okay,
Big Bro Commission.
I'm gonna show you one more. We're gonna open up the floor to our panel in a second, and I'll be going into some of our other measures as well, so you can see what the sisters answer to.
So those images you showed on Google was from 7 AD, huh? Or was that more recent?
No, those are recent pictures as far as when he showed of the indigenous, when it was showing the indigenous people in the areas being black. Yeah, that's what it literally showed. I can pull that up too. That every time that it showed a black person in those tribes, it had indigenous under that name.
He
Yes,
typed in
he did.
he typed
Yeah,
in
he
slaves.
typed in Mauritanian slaves
He
first.
never
But then
typed
this is what
indigenous.
no, I didn't say he typed in indigenous, and this is why I say that
So
you're
why
very
would it come up?
detective. You're very, because it came up on its own. Once he typed
No.
in as far as Amazon, and he went down as far as the Amazon.
And it was all those white people with tattoos on their face.
Until it got to the indigenous woman that it said clearly.
Oh, so she's indigenous to you because she's black, but you're gonna ignore.
It said, it literally said that under the name. He didn't put that up. He didn't write
so
indigenous.
funny,
It said that on that.
I got a quick question.
So those images he showed on Google was from 7 AD, huh? Or was that more recent?
It was actually this clip right here with our sister. She made it more clear. She trying to tell him basically what I did, and she telling me exactly what happened. When I typed that name in, it came up by itself. I didn't have to put indigenous. It was talking about the Mauritanians. And he's trying to overtalk this.
It's just disingenuous. There was nothing that he typed in that alluded to indigenous people. But still, my question didn't get answered as to why that article didn't connect them to West African tribes. It just didn't do it. And I wonder why. I want to read really quick. And I don't want to give it all away just in case I do end up having this debate. But I want to read. Dulcinea asked me for a source.
See, he want a debate.
So
ain't nobody got time.
This is from page 90 of pre-colonial Black Africa. The white populations then inhabiting the land were under the strict authority of the blacks. I talked about that. In 990, the Berber center of Lemtunas, Otagus, was governed by a black farber who levied taxes. So remember, I said, under these black kings, these white North Africans were still able to acquire slaves. That was my argument. And that's why we have black people that were mixed in. So this is just some context. In the name of the emperor on the goods and merchandise, just disingenuous. There was nothing that he typed in that alluded to indigenous people.
That was actually the end of that clip. There's so many clips on here. Where is that clip where she rebutted that? Okay, there you go, right there.
It's just disingenuous. There was nothing that he typed in that alluded.
Not that one. Okay. Here it is.
Or was that more recent?
No, those are recent pictures as far as when he showed of the indigenous, when it was showing the indigenous people in the areas being black. Yeah, that's what it literally showed. I can pull that up too. That every time that it showed a black person in those tribes, it had indigenous under that name.
He typed in he typed
in
slaves.
He typed in Mauritanian slaves first.
He never typed indigenous.
No, I didn't say he typed in indigenous, and this is why I say that.
So why would it come up?
You're because it came up on its own. Once he typed in.
So that was the same one right there. And there it is. Okay.
That one she calls him out on his.
Yeah, that's what it was right there. That's the one right there.
What he likes to do is misinterpret what people say because he's not listening. He just hears to try to argue, and then when he comes in wrong instead of actually listening to what people were saying. Because I have it pulled up before he even came on the panel. Commission admitted that the Moors sold slaves, and then he came in like, you said the Moors didn't sell slaves, and that's what he does all the time. And that's what he says about me, as far as always misinterpreting what I have said instead of sitting back and listening, which the brother needs. That's what's going to make you better. And I think this debate is going to be good for you because then you'll have to listen to actually debate him. And then you can go by point instead of making up things.
Nobody made it anything.
I have the clip already pulled up as far as
we were over there and we watched it. You're not showing something that nobody saw. You think
Commission said the Moors was sold into slavery.
So basically, we got a misunderstanding. Basically, that's the whole thing.
What he likes to do is misinterpret.
So basically, family, what is and that brother there that's with him, he exposes this brother later on and say, man, you already planned to come up in here. And this was after I said, brother, you be on our class all the time. You know, with me, we done taught you, you know, in the last class prior to this one, he was in here. You know, before that, he was in here, you know, and I didn't know that was him that had changed his name to Renegade Jay. I was like, is that Jay? But then I found out it was him. You see what I'm saying? When he came up on here. on this particular time. And so I was saying, well, brother, you've been in here the whole while. All you had to do is call me. You didn't need to come up into this bill where you see these sisters, you know, accepting what's being taught and try to derail it. And so the other brother say, oh man, this brother was teaching you? Like, you didn't tell me that, bro. And then he was like, he said, man, you already had it planned to come up in here. You know, he got it up there in the video. He was like, and they was trying to stop him from saying that. So, you know, I said to myself, I say, man, this is a real sad situation where we got our people. They come in and they try to learn certain things just for the sake of trying to rebut what they learned from. It don't make no sense because you're putting yourself back in slavery. You know what I mean? And this is why we can't move forward as a people. And he was one of the main ones talking about, yeah, we need to unite and so forth and so on. You know, and at that particular time, you know, the brother was actually, you know, he actually had told him, I think it's right here what he said.
I agree with that. He could have used it as a teaching moment, but in the same breath, he was kind of blindsided, and we all saw that. He was kind of blindsided him with that, with that you did. He was blindsided, so he didn't have no time to sit here and kind of react that way, because he could have used it as an absolute teaching moment. And yes, he could have, but instead it didn't go that way. And this is why I keep saying, after all of this, when the dust settles, make it right.
But sometimes you got.
That's what I'm saying too, Queen.
You ain't.
Jay need to make that shit right, Jay.
Right all the time. I don't care how old you is, how many certificates you got, how many degrees you got. You ain't right all the time, and you can mess up too.
But no, but he goes, but with Jay, but
it ain't about being wrong. It's about being blindsided.
Yeah, because I agree with that. He could have used it as a teaching moment, but
basically, you know, he's basically trying to use reverse psychology. But the older sister, she was trying to tell him, you know, basically he was wrong. And the other brother that was talking as well is saying the same thing. That other sister at the bottom, she was the antagonist because she don't want to hear nothing more.
Right there. That's it.
Yeah, but you can't make it a teachable moment if you disturb the class.
He didn't disturb the class because Sister Freedom was already going in. He didn't disturb the class because after that, I had done said something. So he didn't disturb the class. It was already going.
Now, there's somebody that don't believe nothing. You know what I mean? She don't want to hear nothing about nothing. She don't, but she definitely against the Moors. She made that clear. And she just talking, you know, so they basically in it together, so to speak, right? And in the end of it, let me see where it is, right here. But these are the last few slides. It's more of them. I just went through it to see it, you know, but the sister was
a lot of people, whether you know it or not, and I'm telling you this personally from what I know, a lot of people wish it was them instead of you. So you got to be careful too of these people, sometimes low key coming to knock you off your square, because that's the square they want to stand in. Commission is not, no, I don't agree with everybody putting him in that boat where he's just some random something. No, you know how hard he's worked. You know what he's earned. You know, that goes for any respectable person in our community, which everybody ain't respectable, because everybody ain't put in that time. Everybody ain't running in the same types of financial circles. People ain't running inside intellectual circles. It's a lot of shit to be kind of conscious of in this conscious community. A lot of people, whether you know it or not.
She trying to basically admonish him, you know, but unfortunately he gonna get real belligerent. I ain't gonna go into that aspect right there. You know, but the other brother told him this here though.
It's something different. I felt some kind of way.
What was it?
Because you're a Moor, Doris. That's why.
No. Because I found out he taught you. That's what changed it up. Now I really know you had issue with the man. When I found out y'all boy had that,
but I didn't know he had an issue. You see what I'm saying? And this is what the brother's saying to him, like, you know, I didn't know you had issue with the man. you know, and then when I found out, and I didn't know he was, you know, you going into classes, basically.
Not history, that was something different.
See, exactly.
Yeah, come on, dog. That's a respect thing.
Yes, a respect
you live by
thing.
honor.
And you are blessed, Brenda. You are blessed, Jay. I don't know, but I'm serious. I mean, it's been a long time since this type of, you know, issue like this, where we're able to sit here and share just a tiny bit of wisdom, you know, and not make you feel like you some super young person, because that's not what this is about. You know, from this,
and you ain't get this from no damn book neither.
Elevate. Yeah, we want you to elevate, you know, your perspective a little bit. Elevate that perspective. To Jay.
It's something different.
Basically, you know, they trying to get him to come to terms with he was wrong on what he did. You know, everybody basically was saying that right there, you know, and this is the last
Renegade, you can't quote out my book and say, oh, this is my source.
Not that one right there. It was actually this the last clip right here I wanted to show. You know, all the while you in our class
specifically as a unified people.
Watch what he put up here.
That's the only way we can come up with some kind of
you
answer.
Came in here and you teaching this guy what you learned from us, but then you want to attack us, and we didn't do nothing to you. You want to attack the Moors. So this is sad that our people do this, and there you go in the chat right there. But I ain't gonna argue with the young brother. I hope that he, you know, get his mind right, you know, because very disingenuous what he did, you know. And we and look at, you see the Masonic brother in there, what he's saying, you know, that's basically what he see it as. Brother Atham 79, he say this is an eavesdropper, one that's taking information and running with it. But my thing is that we have to stop this, you know. Like, if you want to learn. If you want to do what you do. But stop causing conflict in the midst of our people when we trying to build. If you don't want to build, okay, we cool with that. You know, do what you do. Stay over there, and we going to keep doing what we doing. I ain't got to hate you, because that ain't going to never be the case. I don't know you like that. You ain't did nothing to me. So wherever that energy coming from that he got in him, I don't know. You see, I brought the information up there to challenge what you had, and just like I put it up here, and it didn't even have nothing to do with you, young brother. This is dealing with our people. That's the part. You got to look at the big picture, good brother. You see, if you look at this information being brought up there to you, that's what it is. You know, on the spot, we asked you to prove your claim. You all couldn't prove that. That's okay. We don't hate you for it. I love you. You know, but we got to stop this, you know, ambush scholarship, you know, trying to use information to warfare with. You know what I mean? Only time when somebody come forward toward me, that's when I respond to them to bring clarity to the people. I don't even care about the person that's sitting in front of me think they debating. I'm giving clarity to the people because they mean more to me, you see, than me being acknowledged or being seen or all that there. You feel me? So we're going to keep uplifting the people, you know, and you keep learning. Like I told you, class was dismissed yesterday, you know, so we ain't going to sit here and go back and forth. And I'm going to ask you to respectfully leave this room, young brother, you know, with the note before I have to remove you. But other than that, I want to call on my scribes, you know, because we got a lot of grand things to bring on the manifest. Tell me what you think about the history that we brought forth in the historicity, Morris King. Islam. We're going to open up the floor to our Grand National Secretary of State. Islam, are you there, Goddess and Queen?
Close as a thought.
Oh, man. That's the thought the prophet brought. Goodness gracious.
Islam. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class, also to our panel, and also our family online, giving a special honor to Act One, our Moorish American government, and to you, Dr. Shahid, for all that you do, all you going to do, you know, all you have done. You know, we appreciate your steadfastness and diligence and being a master researcher. I give honor to the Book of Fire, and bringing that we started off in reading from. And I'll tell you, Morris Ken, there is so much wisdom to be learned. When I look at, the map that was in the Book of Fire and how you brought forth the DNA results, and showing in essence the same demonstration and just reinforcing the pathway of, from east to west and back east again and circumnavigating the entire earthland in essence. Okay. So this in itself is such a blessing because I tell you, prior to the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, didn't have a clue. And I was doing the research. But if one doesn't have the keys, if one doesn't have the proper tools, if one is just basing what they have from a foundation that is deliberately trying to deceive and redirect the course from the original source, then you grow up with a lack of truth. Okay, so this is why we give much honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali in this new era of time for bringing us the truth of who we are. And we are grand and illustrious people. And, just in, I give honor to, the panel that was brought forth, the sisters, the brothers online and things of that nature, because we recognize the fact that Allah is the one that gives to everyone their portion of the understanding in a measure that's determined by himself, so I am still striving. But the thing is, I know through experience that when I don't keep my mindset open to the truth, I'm going to run into brick walls every time, especially if signs are being given, if lessons are being taught, and I refuse to do the work. In order for me to be what I know and not what I'm told, I've got to, even after this class, go in, do the research. Where is this location? Where is this from? And the key that you gave was dealing with the bibliography in reference to the source from which these books got their reference from. So this is a grand measure, and we have to recognize the fact that there's opposition out there. It's going to come from various sources, but we can't allow ourselves to get taken off our mission of divinity. We can't allow ourselves to become distracted by what is deliberate intent to try to tear down and destroy before the nation is even up off the ground unfolding. But we have to remember this is for the young and yet born. So in essence, we're speaking about those that are willing to learn. Not everyone is going to be at the same place at the same time, but this is where more science comes in. It's a power that exerts itself for the individual at the will of the user. So if you will to unfold into your God state, because it's more than just tracing oneself back nationality wise, we've got to find the balance. And also recognize that by us being a spirit and a part of the creator, we are also gods, so we take this seriously. We are always here to, give the truth out. And, as the rain does, it drops on the desert, which may produce nothing. It drops on the leaves, trees, etc. So we can't sit there and take time out to say, well, I said this, but you didn't get it. And then, stay there and try to browbeat something. That's not what we're about. We give the truth out, if it's accepted, praise Allah. If it's not accepted, praise Allah. And we got to keep moving because distractions are what keep us bound down on this manifest plane. This is nothing new, family. Okay, this is really nothing new. But the thing is, you got to be able to have the vision, the foresight, and everybody is not trying to have the Moors come into their own or unfold. You got agent provocateurs out there. You got all kinds of entities or what have you. But it is well, because this has been prophesied, and you can't go beyond what is destined to be, so this is just a grand measure, a grand class, and we embrace all of our people. We're out here on the front line for all of our people, not just the ones that agree with us, whether they comprehend it or not. We let the peace be still, but we keep it moving. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Grand class, and gratitude for all that you do. Peace and love.
Islam and gratitude, Grand National Secretary of the State. That's right. Like the chairman say, we don't give, the shadow no acknowledgement when it comes to dealing with those that want to mislead our people and cause us to be in a state of conflict. And we don't hate the shadow, because we know the shadow is a part of us as well. You know what I mean? But we know that shadow get big based upon how much we acknowledge it. You know what I mean? So we just say gratitude. We ain't got nothing to prove. Our people accept them who they are, constantly unfolded into the knowledge, and we're gonna keep uplifting fallen humanity. Goodness gracious. But don't think that we ain't got this pant leg rolled up with this scimitar on deck. Islamism, we got that from our chairman. Islam. Speaking of our chairman, is our chairman on the manifest, Grand National Secretary of the State?
Islam.
Oh, there you go. The acting kick the door down to the coming back. Come on up in here, Chairman.
Well, let me give praise to Allah and honor the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Say much honor to Noble Drew Ali for bringing us everything it takes for us to save ourselves as a nation. He brought us our own government, our own flag, our own divine constitution, our own prayer, God, forefathers, everything. He didn't leave nothing. More, it's time to wake up. Wake up. It's not complicated. It's up to you to save your own self. Would you want somebody else to do it? Well, no, you don't. Trust me, you really don't. It's an honor, blessing, more. Thank all those that spoke before me. Islam isn't without the schism. Peace.
And that's Ali-ism. See there? Now, our chairman, he don't have to say a whole lot, but he said everything in what he said right there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali say, man, he gonna count on his fingers how many of our people that'll still be in the realms of their redemption or be saved and still have fingers left. So it don't surprise us, that our people don't want to be free. It's sadness that they don't want to be free, because we want to see our people free. But it don't surprise us because we understand what mental slavery is. It can be a drug too. It can be addictive if one ain't careful. So Islam, we gonna call on our panel of scribes now. Come on in here, scribes.
Islam.
Sister Curta Bay.
Islam.
Go ahead, goddess and queen.
Islam, family. I tell you, I'm just enjoying, as always, enjoying our class. Oh, wow. Dr. Shahid, you put out a lot of good information out here, and I loved it when you was showing us all of this information, and we're not just talking things. We got documentation, beat conversation. We always say that on our conference call, our national sister, Grand Mufti, always say documentation, beat conversation. And we are showing you, family, we are showing you we got documentation. And I give honors to the sisters who was there, who was trying to listen and learn. And, it is a sad thing. You have people out there who come in for to disrupt, but that's okay. We like you say, we love them, and I enjoyed when you say, because when you was showing us, Dr. Shahid, I thought about the time, because see, I always talk about when I come how I come from Christianity, but I came out of the conscious movement also, and when you talked about how Dr. Ben talked about he would rather follow, if he had to choose, he would follow Islamism versus the Christianity. And because I used to love and sit up under Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, all of those great teachers during that time. But if he would have said that, I don't remember him saying that, but if he would have said that, where my mindset was at that time, I wouldn't have accepted him saying he would rather have Islamism. And that just makes it so clear to me now when we say it takes a more to teach a more how to be a more, because it's clear to me, like I say, what my mindset at that time, I wasn't ready for Islam, because see, I hadn't heard nothing about Islamism, hadn't heard nothing about Noble Drew Ali at that time. But then as I continued to go to unfold, travel on my journey, and when I come into this government, I begin to understand a lot of things. I begin to understand a lot of things that Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and all of those people that they talked about. I began to see it more clearly now. And what we are doing here now, Dr. Shaheed, we give you honors for all the things that you're doing. And I just want to say to my Moorish kin who are out there, who are listening to us, who joins our classes, and we welcome you all. We love you. And if we say something that I was always taught, if we say something that you don't agree with, put it on the shelf. You ain't got to get upset at nothing we say or whatnot. Go do your own research. And if you can't accept what we're saying, put it on the shelf. It may not be time for you to receive it as of yet. They say the teacher, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I encourage you, keep coming to these classes, getting in these classes, ask your questions. We are willing to answer the questions. And me, for myself, I'm still unfolding, I'm still growing, and I don't understand why people don't get so upset about the Moors. But it's okay. You get upset because you don't have truth. You don't have the truth. Once you get the truth, you begin to understand everything that's coming forth. And we are so excited about this information going out, and we are seeing it's reaching the people. And I say to our panel, and Dr. Shaheed, I say to you, keep doing what you're doing, because we know that we are doing the right thing, because if we wasn't, we wouldn't have the opposition. They wouldn't be getting mad and cussing and going on as if that's going to intimidate us. But I'm like you, I'm not going to sit here and listen to your profane language. I'm better than that. And I'm not going to go, we don't go to those levels. And if you can talk to me respectfully, I would talk to you respectfully. But when you start doing all of that, then I have to back up, because I'm that's not for me. But I say to our people, keep coming, keep listening, put your little questions up there. We try to answer them as best we can, and we love you, family. And like I say, if we say something that you don't understand or don't agree with, put it on the shelf. Islam, God, man, gratitude. This is a powerful class, and that clip you were showing, that was good. Islam, peace and love for letting me share.
Islamism, gratitude for that measure, Grand National Secretary of the State of North Carolina. Islamism. And just on the note of what you just said too briefly, you made reference to our beloved elder, Dr. Ben. And this is the clip she was referring to, family. Listen to what this elder say, because many say they follow this brother, but then they go, matter of fact, the brother Reggie say he followed Dr. Ben, but they don't follow what that brother taught.
Now, I am not against Islam. I see it as a force in human history that has to be reckoned with, and that at times has command respect and can again command world respect. if forced to the wall, and if I have to choose between it and Christianity, I would choose it. I am that disgruntled about Christianity. I'm that disgruntled about it because I think both of them have failed their mission to mankind, and there is no excuse for them failing in their mission to mankind. I don't excuse either one of them, as I don't excuse the United States or Russia for failing their promise to mankind. Now, I am not against.
And so the elder said that, and he letting you know he ain't against it. He know that Islam, he said, is a force to be reckoned with, and basically in the future it can be the same thing. But he said he don't see no excuse, and he looking at the greatness, of where things come from, Hold up real quick here.
Now, I am not against.
I don't know how I always end up replaying the same clip. Let me see here. But he had this other clip. He had two more of them. They don't let you get but a few seconds, but that's all right. We don't need it but a few.
I have two shelves of books dealing with Islam, Arabs, and their history alone. Two shelves. And I read practically everything and every word in every book. I grew up a Baptist Sunday school teacher. I belong to an African spirituality. I respect all religions when they practice what they preach. Now, we have to distinguish between what a religion is, what it can be, and what it promises to be. I have two shelves of books.
Yeah, so the brother was very concise that he was not an atheist. For those who like to act like he was teaching an atheistic doctrine, shame on him for lying on the elder, But this is the most powerful statement he made here, because he actually prophesies us, the real Muslims, in this statement.
I am saying that while this is one of the world's greatest religions, its redemption is going to come from Africans who will rescue it, give it a real meaning, make it a world religion, make it a world force for unity, and give it the sense of tolerance and respect for other cultures and religions that it once had, and integrate it into the concept of African culture and African liberation. Either do this or throw it into the ash can of history. Thank you.
You heard it. He already know. He said he spoke of that people that would come up and they gonna make Islamism what it's supposed to be, basically. And ain't nobody did that but the Moors. You see, under all the other forms of the Arabism and all the other schisms, like our chairman say, Islamism without the schism, they ain't fulfilling what that brother talking about. And like he said, either do that or throw it in the ash can of history. If it ain't giving you no strength, you can't get strength from weak sources. And the strongest source when it comes to the truth is what our chairman brought us in the Book of Fire, which is exactly what that elder was talking about. So with that being said, we're going to go to our next scribe, Islam.
Islam,
grandman. We hear you.
Islam. First, I'd like to rise, give all man praise to Allah and to the Prophet. Honor our theocratic government, our world council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, with angels, mufti, citizens alike, honor to all the Moors that spoke before me, all the ones that will speak after. And I'm gonna I'll start off like this. It says because a lot of us have coming out of Christian mind frame, the Christian thought pattern, and it says in the Piscean records, it says, "My people are known by my name." And when he did the illustration of more equaling amen, that is an expression of my people being known by my name, the claiming of a people being the vicegerents, the protectors, and so forth. So you can't take that out of any other context, you can't put that in place it to. And I'm not trampling on what the Hebrew brothers is doing or anybody else, but you can't say that it's the Israelites, you can't say that, because there is no unless you're talking about Jacob. And if that's your people that are known by your name, then that's who you must be talking about. That's who your father is. Well, we're also looking at the fact of that a lot of people will hang on a fraction of what somebody says and then try to twist it in order to however you plan on using it, but you try to thwart it or take the value from it because you want the fame from it, as opposed to the education of the people. If you are truly about the education and you're truly about the uplifting of your people, then unity always must be at the forefront of the mind, regardless on what you believe in. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like what Malcolm said. Sometimes you have to put your personal belief behind and go with the unity, because unity is or what we classify as love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice here. We go with that because that has a stronger we got too many enemies. So why are we going to be enemies with each other? Why are we going to try to, hey, let me show you up here, let me show you up there? And to me, that's pointless. The point is us uniting and coming out of her. This her is this, this westernized thought pattern. And breaking all the way away from it, because it hasn't done us good in no form or fashion. There is nobody else on this plane right now that has a government established but the Moorish American government. We're not talking about no government in the figment of figuratively. We're talking about an actual you can touch government. You know what I'm saying? Not on paper, but in actual essence of what a government and the truth of what a government is. And so that's the other thing that we have to look at. If we like the chairman said, if we don't save ourselves, who's gonna save us? We can't beg for somebody to come do something that we could do ourselves, and the bickering back and forth is not going to get us nowhere. So for us to come in, regardless of how you feel about something, that's the whole point of the goal is, what do you want your babies? What type of world do you want your babies to live in? Do you want it to be governed in America where they're going to get gunned down? You're paying your tax money to the people that are shooting your children down in the street. That's ultimately what you're doing. So to me, there's no question in this. When we're talking about the spirit and my spirit, and I took a few notes, but my spirit won't allow me to settle at the time of slavery. My spirit won't let me settle there. That means I have to be able to trace myself back. There has to be something that's beyond slavery, because I know the essence of my spirit. Even the prophet said the Moors have, a multitude of spirits in them, meaning they have a multitude of, we come through one line, but we have a strong sense of who we are, and we are not able to express ourselves underneath the westernized thought pattern. And I like I don't remember who said this, but they said that the most dangerous place to live is in the head of your oppressors. That's the most dangerous place to live. If we are always living in the thought of our oppressors, we are never going to get out of our conditions that we have. And if there's an etymology of words, and which means the science of words, and there's a histories and which is saying the history of a word, that means there has to be a history of a people, and you could trace words back to one meaning. That means you could trace a people back to one meaning. We can't play the game and don't have time to play the game of I'm this, I'm that. If you want to be this and that, go be this and that and see how that works out for you. That's like wishing in one hand and you know what else and the other. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I'll leave as I come in peace. Islam.
In Islam, we give honors to you for that special measure, grand man. That's right. You know, and especially when we have people that are asking about self-determination, especially when we have our sisters. And also, I'm going to talk to our secretaries after we get off the call. You know, I won't go into the certain measures, you know, and this is dealing with some measures that we'll deal with being active, so to speak. But I will say that our sisters, by the time we finish, regardless of all of what went on with the detraction and distraction, so they most definitely ready to support, you know, their government. And I actually dropped the link in there, you know, for some of our family, you know, that are respectful. You know, if they wanted to come on, I think the sister Sasha Bay mentioned something about she wanted to come on the link. You know, we ain't got no problem opening up. And we actually have our assignment, and I'm going to point that out in a second, you know, what we'll go through. But we ain't really have to go through a whole lot of things. We already know the way that we go through the hieratic. But actually, we're going to return back to the Poe document, you know, the Skillful Scribe, and go back into that because it has a more extensive, you know, even more now we'll be able to comprehend it better, and it will make us more sharper in the hieratic, and then we'll move forward with more of the hieratic measures. That's where I wanted to go with this particular drawing today, you know, and the exercises, we pretty much are on point with them. You know, we know what we need to vet the words, go through them, you know, and we'll just bring that assignment forth. So at this time, we're going to see if our brother Marvin Edwards Bay got anything to say, you know, unless somebody else come in on the link that we dropped. And again, family, be sure to like this video, you know, and share it so that our people can get this wisdom and understanding as well. Islamism. Want to give honors to our family again in the chat. Sister Sasha Bay, Cena Renee, Jeff Billings, L. Nova Brian, man, y'all faithful Moors, family. Thank you for showing up and demonstrating the presence. And we know that most of our people come from different walks of life as Moors, but yet they here in Moorish unity right now, you know, supporting their Moorish kin, because that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught us: salvation, our God, unity. Brother Yaqub, El Hamid, Gamma Bay, we give honors to you, brother. You know, again, Noble Bryant, you know, who else is there I see that I hadn't called? Let me see here. Our brother Atom, 79, we give honors to you, grand man. Yes, sir, for your presence. You know, we give honors to all of you, you know, who come in love. All right. Islam. Okay, go ahead, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Yes, sir, Islam.
Islam.
Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay out of the Texas Consulate. Praise and honors have been given. Well, was there any Moors that was not on the panel? What you saying they wanted to? You sent out, you put out the link if they wanted to come and say something.
Yeah, I think it was the sister said she would come in, so I dropped the link, you know, for the public.
She didn't.
I don't know if they want to try to come in. I don't see nobody in our bike chat yet, so you can give your measure. If somebody come in, then we'll hold them up.
Okay, I won't hold the family. It just want to give honors to all that you do. I mean, you brought me along. You know what I mean, from where I was at, cause I'm a person that don't have a whole lot of patience, and but I tell you, I was looking at a documentary last night, and it reminded me, you know, what our peoples went through. You know, we talk about our ancestors before. Yeah, of course, we have to go back beyond slavery. But then when I look at what we went through slavery, what our people endured, that ain't no joke. I mean, you know, to endure through all that. You know, man, it's like you could see our people saying that just hold on, just keep getting up, you know, keep moving. You know what I mean? Um, the great God is going to bless us, and He did with the prophet. You know what I mean? And when we look at our people in the, you know, just like the young brother, and so many of our other people, what we went through slavery, they completely erased our minds, so to speak. I mean, they buried it. So how else can we act? That's no excuse. But I tell you, it's a sad state of affairs. To the goddess, Sasha, she can speak because I'm always speaking. I mean, I can say gratitude for allowing me to speak.
Islam.
Yes, sir.
Gratitude, Consul General. We give honors to you. You know, trust me, it's a lot of our people. Not only are they coming in by the droves, and we're gonna discuss this, like I say, off of the line, but they bringing people with them. You know, so praise be to Allah. All right, Sister Sasha, Nicole, Islam goddess.
Islam.
Islamism.
All praises due to Allah, the Most High. Highest honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, his forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, to the Moorish American government, to the Moors that spoke before me, the Moors that will speak after me. Islam. Okay. This one I want to say first. It's not that I don't, I like intimate settings better. That's when I'll speak. This whole thing, and I'm calling it a thing because I look at you all like my family, because I understand that there are levels to this. Okay. And okay. The way that we treat each other, the way we speak to each other or don't speak to each other is, to me, where the biggest part of our problem is. And basically, I understand how hard it is when those that are advanced in knowledge are putting it out there, trying to teach others, and then you have the others coming in telling you no, even though it's right there in their face. I commend you for all of that. Like, nothing but respect. And that's all I have to say. I think Islam.
Islam, goddess and queen. Yeah, you know, the prophet told us, Moors, he said, teach my people the truth. And we always have a saying, our chairman taught us, you know, an angel, you know, when you put that demonstration out there, you ain't really cared where it falls, so to speak. And that's what I even tell our Moorish kin. My methodology, and I learned it years in teaching our people, is not to browbeat our people over the head, right? But it is to keep teaching. And I use the hammer repetition in general, not on one individual or another individual, but I give it to our people and let them unfold in their own time. You never see me trying to force them, you know, none of that. And I know that's the most effective way. But like you spoke, and you said you speak in the intimate settings, you know, in most cases, I noticed that the character, you know, over the years, I've been able to reach a lot of our people based off my character. See, most people know me from being online, like I tell our Moorish kin. But my character in person attracts my people more because they see me living like this. See, people on the other side of the camera, they think that I'm just, some of them may think I'm just camming up Moorish and going, but my whole family over here where I'm at know that my whole life is Moorish. Some of them might even think it's two Moorish, so to speak, because I got more Moorish on my mind all the time. It's consumed with this and been so for, you know, basically 30-some odd years. It's been consumed with the study of self, consumed with being who I am. And so people that know where I come from, you know, coming out of that stage, you know, after going through the pitfalls of human knowledge and being buried alive by Rome and all that type of demonstration, you know, I was able to unfold, you know, and the people that see me unfold, you know, they honor that. They honor that because they know who I used to be, you know, as a young seed. And some of them say, if that man right there can demonstrate like he demonstrated, If he can change, then I know I can, all of us can, you know what I mean? And so from that standpoint right there, that's the love that we put out there when we move through the earth land, when we go to the supermarket, when we go to the store. You know, strangers, some of them see divinity in you. Some of them embrace the divinity. Some of them don't like the divinity. For example, when I go out here, just like I am now, you know, even the European roll out the red carpet. I can be going into Walmart. You know what I mean? But they can see royalty. You know, they step out the way. Go ahead, sir. You know? And so it's empowerment in being who you are when you're in the higher self is what I'm trying to say. You don't even have to talk much. So as I move throughout the highways and byways, I'm always dropping seeds though, on young brothers, homeless people. You know, I don't have to get up here and, you know, go on the line and take my cell phone with me and show people what I'm doing, but I know what I do. And like I said, I don't browbeat the people. I don't even go in and trying to get into all the deep science we go into, but I give them the wisdom. And next time I come, they love to see me coming. You see what I'm saying? So through that aspect is how I've been able to reach more of my people than anything, family. You see, even though they ain't here right now, I know in due time they unfold. Just like there was a time we couldn't even get up here and speak anything Moorish without tomatoes being thrown up, somebody coming in opposition. But that's really done calmed down. You got a few that come up here and there, but I done seen it so much. I don't look at our people as the enemy. I pity them. Even back then, those who were challenged, they don't know that I've been through this so much with the Hebrew Israelites, the New Wabians. This 25, 26, 27, 8 years ago, family, I was dealing with our people like this, and I didn't get mad or hate them then. That's why now my disposition is even greater, because I seen that. I've been there. I'm wondering why 25, 30 years later, our people still in the same mind state, if anything. You know, like what's the problem? Why don't you get it? But that's another measure. You know, I don't look down upon them. I just try to reach our people up from where they are, embrace them where they at, and take them where they need to go. That's my job, to teach the people, keep it moving. Some gonna get it, some ain't gonna get it. You know, but we definitely don't hate our people. I ain't never been like that. You know, I'm the type of individual, even in outside of the Moorish demonstration, for example. I'm just speaking on experience when I say I or me, not the ego. I'm talking about what I experienced. You know, like when I would see people doing good, I would always congratulate them. I honor them. I love to see people doing good. I never was jealous of another individual, you know, because of what they had, you know, what was grand that they had. You know what I mean? Because if you apply yourself, you can obtain many things, but we don't deal with the plane of things made manifest. But most of our people still suffering from mental slavery. So they have those chains, unseen chains, you know, that cause them to be in opposition to their own freedom. But then if you put a European right here on the panel, I guarantee you those who are in opposition will eat it up. And that's the sad part, because they would take the narrative, you know, of the oppressor over our people that's really trying to uplift our people. So wherever our people are along the way, you know, and that's another thing. My methodology of teaching is to reach all of our people. We all do it different. You know, one of the reasons why I talk about the unity and us coming together myself so much, because I've seen so much disunity based upon religion, based upon this. I started calling it religious gangbang. You know, and that's because that's basically what it is, political gangbang. You know, social, you know, all these different gods that people are creating. You see, and so I've always taught the oneness. And if one go back and study everything that we deal with, family, I'm trying to bridge the gaps. I know, you know, where Orthodox Islam, you know, is at odds with what they call heterodox Islam, which they'll lump all us over here in. It don't matter what they think at the end of the day, because I know Quran. but I know what will bridge the gap between the two. And when I meet one that studied that doctrine, I can speak to them and not have a hatred in me because of their view of what they believe. Same thing with a Hebrew Israelite. I know the bridge. I show it all the time, the bridge between the Hebrews and the people of Kemet. You know, the bridge between the Hebrews and the Moor, they really were the same people. They was expelled at the same time in 1492. You see? So when you go into all these particular areas, you know, I'm trying to show our people what we want. It's called repair. We have to repair the apparatus. Now, a lot of our people crying and talking about reparations. You know, we have to repair the way we think. You see, and it don't matter what you get if you ain't repaired, because you're going to give it right back to the European. You're going to give it right back to the adversary, the people that's been oppressing you. You see? And we don't say that even in the level of hatred. Because I've also seen some Europeans out here too, you know, who would come up themselves, and they know our plight better than some of our own people. You know, I had one European tell me one time I was on the job site, you know, we got in a conversation. Every now and then you always meet those, you know, that you talk to here and there. It might be a lunch break or something. And we got talking about, you know, the South, and that European said, he say, I don't want you to get offended when I say this. He said, but the reason why most of your people act the way they do is based on my people down here in the South with the Jim Crow thought pattern. He said, and all of that stuff that they was demonstrating, some of your people inherited that way of thinking from them. Straight up. And I said, no, I'm not offended at what you say at all, because that is the truth. We just got to, you know, we might get upset where it come from, some of our people. But he said, y'all act the way y'all do because of the hatred that has been placed upon y'all, you know. And he said, not all of your people, but he said most of them, this is why they act that way, because they have taken on the ways of their oppressor. He said that, their oppressor. You know, and there's many Europeans out there like that. You know, Tim Wise is one of them that talk on those types of things. But, you know, all I can say is our people just got to do better. You know, when you know better, you do better, family. You know, when you know better, you do better. And so we can't keep wasting time, though, because that's what I consider a waste of time, to keep going back and forth over the same thing over and over again. You know, and like I said, we done put it out here. What are you fighting against? I already know if you fighting against things like that and you see it is what it is, I got to put you in the category of being an agent provocateur. So I got to ignore you. You know what I mean? I can't take you serious. You know, so that's the special draw. We got 60 million people we trying to save. And a Negro ain't one of them. You see, well, they can come home if they want to. But if they want to remain that, we're going to let them do what they do. I'm cool with that. I'm just saying stay over there. Because we ain't going to let you come up in here and make no nuisance on our posts. We love you too. That's the thing about it. We love you in spite of. And I ain't talking about the brother that was on the panel. I'm talking about anybody, you know, of our people that feel like they got to be in opposition to what it is we bring forth. We here to teach our people. We're not here to beat up on our people. None of that, you know. And so we just say gratitude, Islamism without the schism. And what I want to do is, before we close this meeting out, I want to show this to our family dealing with what I had intended to bring forth. And like I say, we already went over these things here. We already have this document, but this is going to be very clear for us. This is our original Poe document, family. In this Poe document that we have here, the writing of the skillful scribe, you know, this got all the stuff in it that we've already went over. We have matured intellectually, you know, since we've been here. So when we come in here, it's a lot of stuff that's going to jump right out at us. More so than it did in the beginning. And we had a grand drawing before when we left this before. And so this in itself is almost like, a dictionary, because it's got a lot of rules in it, and so forth and so on. So we're going to be working with going in. It's 348 pages. I love the fact that it has the rules in here on the pronunciation.
You're showing that right now, right, brother?
Yep, I thought I was. Well, let me do it again. It happens like that sometimes. That's all right. I appreciate you, Brother Marvin Edwards, babe. Okay, there it go right there. Is that it? Is it showing now, brother?
Yeah, we can see your screen. You just haven't put the document up yet.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, what about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there we go. Sometimes my system, too, it even throw it out of there. But sometimes my internet be running slow, too, and some things, they won't come up as well. So, Islam. But yeah, right here, this document actually answers the question what we asked when we deal with sounding off the A, the H part itself. All the different forms of it, where you're supposed to come from with it. And in fact, you can actually use your dictionary, not your dictionary, but your Grand Quran, those who have it, and it'll let you know where you're voicing these places from. If you go into it, it has a chart in the back of the book.
Because I'm talking about that Tatweed?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay, Islam. Yes, sir. So for those who have it, they can go in there and you can look, you'll see it. It's a picture of the head, but it show you different places, what one can pronounce from. So when they see glottal or nasal, they'll know where it's coming from. But as you can see here, you can see the sound shifting that's demonstrated here. But this is actually a S, and that symbol on the top, always remember that's SH. The K that's interchangeable with Q. That T that's actually ch, and that D, which is j. So you see that line under this ch, line under the D, j. See, choice, judge. Then it speaks on the weak consonants such as the Y, the W. The Y is often changeable and interchangeable with, the letter J, not the D and the J, because that's really J, as in D and J there. But I'm talking about the actual J, I, and the Y, or the U and the W. It says in English sometimes have consonantal value, sometimes have the vocalic value. The weak consonants in the Egyptian can be given the following values. And there you go right there, ill. So they're using the I in place of the Y is pronounced by as Y when it is initial, and otherwise generally as a long I. So based on where it is placed, like yimmy, like a pushing a Y and an I at the same time is the way I would do it. But then after that, use it as a long I. So W is pronounced as W when it's initial, otherwise generally as U. You see? But you would often see it in dictionaries. If it's a dictionary that's dominated by the W, you're going to see W. Like you'll see Neteru with W at the end. But then certain ones you'll see Neteru with the U at the end. And also the glottal stop right here with this letter A. This is another expression, of the A. But, so all of these rules have been placed in this particular document. We familiar with it. Some of us have already thoroughly studied it, but this is another chance for us to become familiar with the glyphs and the anaglyphs. Make sure that you use all your tools, your molar tool. Make sure that you use your Aku tool. Even the other tool that deal with the demotic would become useful in making comparison to certain words and so forth and so on. All of these things we have become mostly familiar with. And one reason I really want to emphasize this now, because now that we are able to identify most of the alphabets, We understand what they call logograms, determinatives, or what we call indicators, anaglyphs, which also have a metaphysic definition to it outside of, what they try to transcribe from hieroglyphs. We learn about biliterals and triliterals in here, as you can see a lot of them here. And it's good that we can get our eyes trained on those biliterals and triliterals, as they form, the skeleton, so to speak, of the words, and consonants until we add the vowel sound. Like this would be seshet. When we talk about seshet, seshet in shot, a second in shot, so to speak. This deals with writing. And then it also has to do with scribe as well. Just different words like this. This is a hard H, herdu, which means children. There's no vowel there, but you see me sound it out. You see? And so this would be the actual heratogram structure of that, all together. This is actually a whole word here, right? Most of your biliterals and triliterals are whole words as well. The only difference is they only speak of biliterals and triliterals, and they stop right there. So this would be a biliteral here, ta. Remember we was talking about tamare, ta. Sometimes they say ta seti. All these different measures. The people of ta seti. So you can see it here. We can go on, see the heratograms, comparative. What they have here. And like I say, always use it to check. Sometimes you may be able to find it. Sometimes you may not be able to find it based upon where you're going. But and this is actually the whole alphabet here in the hieratic. So all of these are powerful measures. And they're giving you the sound value over here. So this is how you can practice your statements when you make certain sounds of the words and so forth and so on. Like this is a total package right here, family. You see the Unicode right there connected here, so we already know how to use all of that. Praise be to Allah, we came up with our own methodology and we have been successful thus far, and we will be even more successful in the many moons to come. So you see a whole bunch of these here, which are indicators, we call them, and they call them determinatives. We can go on and on and on with this demonstration. Like I said, this is actually almost like a dictionary. Pretty much any book you get from the Kemetic aspect, is in essence almost a dictionary to a certain degree when they have the transliterations in them. So you see here, it's a whole lot more. And that's why we're returning back to this. We have went through the necessary intellectual boot camp and drilled ourselves and immersed ourselves enough to now we can return back to this document and utilize it and become even more refined in the hieratic. And something I've been doing is I've been using my hieratic paleography. Like I showed y'all before, I copied a lot of that. And then I'm going through and I'm actually practicing on writing. I'm going to actually try to get me one of the pens, and even some paper, and start practicing on that as well. It's easy to find. You can get it online. Here are certain measures, that go a little further, that get into the rules of writing. We don't really deal too much with a lot of the drawings, but we know how it goes. We know what Rome has put out here. We're working with what we got, and we building what we supposed to be building to bring forth to the people, to bring them more clarity. We got to embrace them where they at and take them where they need to go. So, I'm still at the top of the document. And I done went past all that information. So this is literally going line by line. With this is going to give you the thorough immersion, I would say, into this information. You know, because it's like it don't get no better than this, family. When it comes to clarity, anyway. So when you begin to look at certain things and they start to jump out at you at whole triliterals and biliterals, it don't get no plainer than that. So what I want to do right now is I'm gonna stop sharing because y'all already got this. And there we go. We're gonna ask our scribes too before we close out. You know, are there any questions or if they have any comments on this? Islam, family.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I just wanted to say, Dr. Evans Bay. Yeah, I like that. I like that PDF there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very informative, and I like the way you showed us this previously, and then bringing us back around so we can get thorough. You know, it's making one become thorough. You know what I mean? I like that, and I'm just grateful for being in the class. Gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Gratitude and Islam and peace. Islamism.
Islam.
Go ahead, Sister Colonel Bay.
You know me. Did you gratitude you for going back over that the shipwrecked sailor? Yes, that was a powerful piece. I enjoyed working with that. Did you say that's where our homework gonna come from?
Yeah, we're gonna go into some things. I'll send some things out.
Okay. Will it be too hard?
No, it ain't gonna be hard. Actually, we're gonna just be really going into trying to get into identifying, the triliterals and biliterals.
Okay.
We know what the heratograms are.
Right.
We know what the anaglyphs are, and how the determinatives and indicators, as we call them, where they fit in the scheme. We deal with word breaking. Are they actually like a silent form of punctuation in all actuality?
Right.
They indicate what's being said in the word, but you just have to be able to identify them. So we have to refine ourselves, but that comes from our own research.
Right.
You see, so we want to mainly do some emphasis on biliterals and triliterals, and so we can train our eyes in those areas.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're already pretty much familiar with the alphabet in and of itself.
Right.
Pretty much now, when you look at the alphabet, I'm pretty much sure a lot of alphabets jumping out at you, right?
Yeah, right. Yes.
We deal with the basic alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really learning those other little pieces, because that's what'll throw most people off.
Right.
The different combinations, and based on the papyri we're looking at, is that's gonna be challenging, or it can be a papyri that's pretty good.
Right.
Like Prissy wasn't real bad to see it, it was one of the greater ones. The Kestabadi, I got whole, y'all see me showing that time more. That's it got a lot of pretty good stuff there too. So just even going back into those papyri and vetting each alphabet step by step.
Right.
So, that's good to do too.
Islam. Gratitude. Well, looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. Islamism. All right. Our other scribes have anything to say? Grand National Secretary of State or Brother Bati Bey, before we close this demonstration?
Just gratitude, many blessings. Can't wait to get into the assignment. We appreciate the class, our Moorish kin, our panel, and gratitude.
Love you more.
Oh man, we love you too, Moors. Tribe of Endurance. Man, talking about endurance, that was our last measure, man. In the Prince of Papyrus, that's what it started out with, wasn't it? Endurance. Islam. All right, Brother Bati Bey.
Islam. Yeah, I just, enjoy the fact that we are, learning the language. There's a lot of people that, unbeknownst to, Moors here, you know, that I talk to on a regular basis, they're really excited about this language. They're really excited about us having our own dialect to be able to learn and talk from. And it's just, you know, it's just all, you know, it's just a beautiful thing, really, when you look at it, because we're really establishing culture and traditions with what we have. So, you know, saying honest to Act One, honest to, you know, all those that are, you know, had that open mind frame. Islam.
That's right. Islamism, yeah. And even our language, that's another measure. Our language comes straight from the ancestors. You know, we constructed our language, the Medu Re En Kmt. We constructed it from the language that was found, you know, in the Iberian Peninsula. It's actually called Iberic Egyptian, and our brother Mustafa Gadala covered it greatly. You know, in the Egyptian writing modes, he talked about it. He showed the chart on it, but we put it in the Abjad order, and we found out that it was rooted in the original Abjad, because it actually consisted of the baby, Bibo, Boo, A-E-I-O-U, you know, the K-Key, Kako, you know, it went all the way through that. And we was able to reconstruct that, you know, and put it in order, and found out that not only is it the language that was over there, but just so happened to be, you know, this is the same script, you know, that was out there that we see on the inscriptions of the Emerald Tablets of Tehuti. So it ain't strange that that particular language, which is close to the Sinzar as well, was taken into the Nile Valley and taught to Osar, the first African god man to civilize the Nile. And then it ended up becoming later an expression of hieratic that comes. So, you know, this has never been a dead language. You know, to us, it has been living. You know, and so we are here to bring this thing back to the forefront. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism, one step at a time, one brick at a time, as we build, you know, our nation as a people. So Islamism, we are the mortar. We got the bricks, but we got to be the mortar. We got to bring everything together. We got to be the adhesive. The only way we can do that is by love, being the love, being what it is we want to see. We the blueprint. We just got to build off of ourselves. Islam. So at this time, we're going to call forth our sister Curta Bay. And we're going to close it out up in the third heaven and straight into Sunday school. That's where the guys and the guiders of this nation derive from. Islamism without the schism.
Islam. Well, family, January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We offer peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turbans and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Jew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. And prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Islam, family.
Islam, family, peace and love.
Great class. Great class.
Islam Sunday School.
Yes, sir. It's
Great class.
Great class. Great
Gratitude, family.
Gratitude.
Love.
We love you, Morris America. See
love
you in
y'all.
Sunday school. Goodness
Yeah.
gracious.
Love y'all too.
Islam.
Well,
Islam. All right, family.
All
I
right.
want to give honors to all of our family that checked in. Again, family, y'all keep coming back. Like, share, subscribe. Come on up in here.
That's
And we're going to keep teaching our people and bringing this truth to y'all.
Islam.
Y'all ain't going to get it nowhere else.
That's right.
We put in hours to bring this to our people. That's right, Sister Sasha. Sister Sasha say grand class. That's
Hey.
right. Yeah, you welcome anytime.
Gratitude.
Y'all come on up in here and get some of this Moorish love and bring your talents too. Goodness gracious. Our chairman called country.
That's right.
All that there. We can't do it by ourselves. We need our people.
We need all the help we can get.
All that help we can get. Goodness gracious.
Right.
We're waiting on the 16th secretary.
Islam. That's right. That's right.
So let me I'm gonna end this broadcast right here, and then we'll draw family. Let me see here.